Obama, Mr. Hope and Change did this to us. I personally know a teacher who has a brain injury because he was attacked by 2 students and nobody came to help him. Well, she would grab them, yank them like this, and scream in their little faces like this.
She's sick.
Angry. She set me down that day. She said, Rebecca, today is the day you learn about teacher unions. She said, we know she's abusive, but the district can't get rid of her because the so-called teacher unions are defending her job. My husband and I go to this California Teacher Association annual leadership meeting, and we walk in the expo center and we go, we gotta be in the wrong place, because every booth in that expo was Planned Parenthood.
No way.
Yep. Rainbow this, Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network. I found out these union leaders, they're making over $500 grand a year, and some of them get housing allowance on top of that. So-called teacher unions are collecting around $5 billion annually, tax-free, just the teacher unions. They spend it all to destroy us, telling little boys to chop off their private parts, okay, destroying them, then saying, oh, we do it because otherwise they'll commit suicide. No, they commit suicide because you're doing it to them. The education cartel, in bed with the United Nations, in bed with the World Health Organization. They're bringing this evil. 2 teams. They have to put the condom on the dildo, and they have to tell all the steps. If they don't get the steps right, they have to repeat it. This is to break down the natural boundaries that God put in children to protect them from predators. That's what this is. This is predatorial. These are groomers. They are asked to leave their classroom several days at a time while Planned Parenthood comes in to sexualize the kids right here in Orange County, California.
Everything that you're gonna hear on this episode will blow your mind. Before we start, I just need 30 seconds of your attention. Obviously, YouTube suppresses my channel just because of the content that I make. YouTube does not want you to hear the truth. This episode will be very uncomfortable for you, and it doesn't really matter whether you are a parent already or you're just planning to have children in the future. This episode will expose the dark truths of the unions, especially the teachers' unions. I would like to ask you to share this video right now with all your friends, peers, and loved ones. And also, please, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so, like this video, and leave a comment below. Thank you, and let's get back to the episode. Rebecca Friedrichs is a 28-year public school teacher, was forced to fund state and national teachers' unions whose politics and divisive tactics degraded her profession, our schools, and our national character. Her lawsuit, Friedrichs versus California Teachers Association, which sought to free teachers from forced unionism, was argued before the U.S. Supreme Court in 2016 and blazed the trail for ending forced unionism for teachers and all government employees. Rebecca continues to fight to stop so-called teachers' unions from destroying our schools and American values. She authored Standing Up to Goliath, an expose of bully unions told through dozens of powerful personal accounts. Rebecca is a Prager University host and founded For Kids and Country, a national movement of citizens uniting to restore our schools and culture. Rebecca is a woman of God, a wife, and a mother of 2. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's set the stage, right? So I'm interested in this topic because of 3 things. First of all, I'm a father. You saw my son. He's 5 years old, and we're planning on having more kids. So it's crucial to me as a father, as a parent. Second of all, my mom was a teacher for 25 plus years, so I know exactly what it's like to be a teacher. I know that it's an extremely hard job to do, and maybe people can say like, you're at school teaching for 6 to 8 hours max, and then you go home and etc. But the work doesn't stop once you go home. You have to check the homeworks, you have to do all those planning and etc. So it's a very hard job to do, especially with the pressure that comes from the parents. And if you have at least 20 to 30 students, so you basically have 20 to 30 employees above you who wants their kids to do better, and you have to answer those questions. That's a very hard job to do. And the third point is, what do you think is the influence of the United States of America to the entire world? Is it big? Is it small?
It's gigantic. If America falls, the world falls. So as far as freedom is concerned. So, that's the reason I'm in this fight, because the unions that we'll be discussing have been used to exploit many professions, to allow communists to infiltrate. And so, America, this free, wonderful melting pot. Yes, I'll say it, melting pot. I don't care what the left gets mad at me
They
for
don't
saying.
like it?
They don't like melting pot, no.
It's racist?
I guess. I don't know. Everything's racist to them. But, we're a very unique country. We welcome anyone who wants to come assimilate with our values, our Judeo-Christian values, where we value freedom, we value individual liberty, and in America, we the people are king. We're in charge. We're the boss, and our representatives work for us. But these unions flipped everything on its head, and they've infiltrated our agencies, our institutions, like our schools, our libraries, the agencies, all the three-letter agencies, the CDC and all that. They completely infiltrated them, and they are seeking to destroy our constitutional free republic. And make no mistake, these people are communists, and they're working very hard to destroy us. So it's just really important for us to speak the truth and expose them, and to stop funding them and, funding our own demise.
That's good that we're on the same page, because I believe America has a huge influence on the entire world. So, for instance, I'm Lithuanian. I was born and raised in Lithuania and lived there for 33 years. I was watching, right from my childhood, I was watching the Hollywood movies, listening to the America's music. I knew all the bands, all the artists. I knew the directors, actors, like everything. So the culture of Lithuania was very little in comparison to the American culture that we had in Lithuania. And Lithuania is not the only country that had this, right? So if you fail big here, Europe is gonna follow in 2 to 3, maybe to 5 years later. That's it. No doubt about it.
Well, and I'd just like to follow up on that. So that's precisely why the communists infiltrated Hollywood so early, because they knew they could impact the whole world that way. But I also want to mention, I'm also Lithuanian. Never had the honor of living there, but my great-grandparents immigrated from Lithuania through Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
And then later my grandparents ended up in California. So,
what was the last name of your grandparents?
Poxtus, I believe, was the name that came out of there. I think it was my grandma's side.
That was like 80 years ago? More?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I've never seen the paperwork. I just know it's my great-grandparents.
I got you. Let's start with the education. So, United States of America is on some charts number 13, on other charts is number 26 in education in the whole world.
Unbelievable.
Is that true? 13,
it's
26?
Absolutely true. Well, the numbers keep dropping so rapidly. Who can keep up with it? But yeah, last I heard, the 26 number is very accurate. I just heard that a couple of weeks ago, actually. Here's the tragic thing, Apollo. This is by design. So when our American founders started this country, they understood tyranny, and they understood how to overcome tyranny. And they told us something in their writings. They told us the only way to keep a free republic is with a well-educated, moral citizenry that can self-govern. So the first thing communists or any tyrants do is they attack the educational system. Our founders set up our educational system. I mean, it was incredible. United States of America schools, well, our first textbook in our classrooms was the Holy Bible. Nowadays they're claiming, separation of church and state. That's very twisted. First of all, separation of church and state is not in our Constitution. It was written in a letter by Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist ministers, and he was basically telling them, no, don't worry. You're protected because the state is not permitted to, interfere with your religion. It was to protect religious rights, not to protect the state. So just the opposite of how they're using it now. So our founders knew that they had to set up an outstanding educational system. Our educational system was not funded by the federal government. It was not funded by government at all. What our founders did was, when you set up a town, you were a townsman, they would give you a plot of land. Gift of land is a big gift. It's huge.
Yes.
They'd give you a plot of land. Now, it was up to you to build the school. It was up to you to find the teachers. It was up to you to choose the curricula. The only thing they did was suggest some things. The Holy Bible, the early readers. I wish I meant to bring them with me, but I completely forgot. But the early readers that we were using, and Noah's Blueback Speller, all of these, what we would call curricula now, but these books that we used, they were all full of morals. I mean, kids learned their ABCs by learning Bible verses. So it was very much, they knew we had to be well educated and moral. They also really focused on the classics, because the classic writings are full of morals. They're full of stories of people being heroic, people standing up for what's right, people, having the moral courage to do what's right, not to sit there and say, oh, I want to protect my paycheck. Oh, I'm too afraid to speak out, like what's going on now. They knew we had to be courageous. And to be courageous, you have to be full of God's power and you have to be full of His Word. And so that's what they did in our schools. They filled our kids with knowledge. We didn't learn astrology. We learned astronomy. We learned about, the stars and
not the heresies.
And the heavens, right? Not the heresies. We were learning the truth. And accurate science. Science is so naturally God's order, and now it's being, they're acting like it has nothing to do with order and God. So we were learning truth. And what did we get for that? We ended up with the most amazing country. We, became a strong, important country quickly. We were blessed because of what we were doing. Now in America, even though our schools were basically home schools, one-room schoolhouses, little what we'd call today co-ops, families working together, we had a massive success with our education. Over 90% of people were reading and writing fluently. We had farmers who could, sit down and pen a sonnet. Not only could they write it, their cursive was beautiful as well. And so we just had this incredible educational system, which is why we did so well.
That was early 1800s?
This is beginning of our country, 1700s.
1700s.
So, and so that went on for quite some time. In 1857, the National Education Association was created, and they worked along with the Psychological Association and other radicals, including a man named John Dewey, not the Dewey Decimal System guy, a different John Dewey, a communist. And they worked together to specifically destroy our incredible educational system. One of the things they did was make education funded by the government. They literally worked to make our schools public schools and to fund them by the government. So now the government can control what goes on in those schools. And it's been a disaster. One of the things they did was they worked specifically to remove phonics instruction. Now, anyone who really understands how to teach someone how to read, whether a child or an adult, there's 3,500 years of historical evidence that if you have an alphabetic language like English, you must use phonics instruction to teach someone how to read. That's the only way they're going to learn how to read. Not sight words, not Dick and Jane and all this crazy, they call it, I think they call it the look-say method, or these cueing methods where you tell the kids, look at the picture and guess the word. That's insanity. That's not reading. So phonics is simple. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. You learn their sounds. Then you learn how to blend letters together and blend their sounds. There's all different, parts of phonics. You learn all of that. You blend the words together, and you can read. So when you can read via phonics, you give me your little child, little tiny guy, right?
Yes.
I taught kindergarten.
Yes.
I taught kinder through fourth, but kinder was my favorite because I got to just pour phonics and, all, these kids were so excited, so happy to be learning. And even if they couldn't speak English the day they walked in the room, they learned how to read by the end of the year because we were all at the basics, right? Learning the phonics. So when a child knows phonics, that child by the end of the first year, if the child's focused in learning the phonics, could pick up a newspaper and read it. Now,
in a year?
Pardon me?
In a
year. Now, if that child might not comprehend all the words in the newspaper.
But he can read.
But he can read them because he can sound them out because he knows the sounds and he knows how to blend them together. That's phonics. So that evil, and I'll call them evil, so-called teacher unions who don't represent teachers, who aren't really a union. They call themselves that because they exploited teachers and, to destroy our country. Those evil so-called teacher unions intentionally removed phonics instruction from our schools. So in early America, over 90% of Americans were reading and writing, comprehending. We had no problems. And by the way, the poor people always got educated. If you wanted to be educated, you were educated because there were plenty of people donating to help the poor. And there weren't that many that needed help because people were able to thrive because the government wasn't, holding them down with all these taxes and, all the horrible things that are going on now. So we were doing so well. Now, did you know now, in America today, there are over 60 million functional illiterates. A functional illiterate means you cannot live your normal life. You can't figure out how to, write a letter to the post office for something. You can't figure out how to keep a checkbook. You wouldn't be able to email people because you can't write well enough.
60 million out
Over
of 350,
60 million.
so every seventh.
Is that unbelievable?
Oh,
in
wow.
a first world country, the United States of America, the once most powerful, incredible nation on earth, we have over 60 million functional illiterates. That's by design. And that happened thanks to so-called teacher unions and their allies who have, there's literally over 200 special interest groups that are controlling our schools nowadays. Shouldn't our schools be controlled by parents? Parents, that's it.
Yes.
Who hire teachers and come in to serve children. Shouldn't be run by the government or the ACLU or the Southern Poverty Law Center or the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network or the so-called teacher unions or any of them, but they're running our schools and they're running them into the ground on purpose. So if I said earlier that our founders said the only way to keep a free republic is with a well-educated, moral citizenry that can self-govern. So now they're destroying our education, trying to make us stupid. And even people who can read well, most of them don't know history, at least not accurately, don't know accurate science because they don't know Western civilization. It's been removed from our schools. They don't know our Constitution.
Well, they know they were racist. That's it. That's
exactly.
all they know.
Exactly, which is the exact opposite of what we are in this melting pot. So anyway, they've destroyed the educational system or are destroying it, and they're intentionally trying to make our children immoral. And we could talk about that if you want to, with
Sure.
the transgenderism and the radical sexualization of the children. All of that, 100% of it, the so-called teachers unions lobbied for it, funded it, put the people in office who passed it. So I'll just kind of go back to just one example, since we're in California. People around the nation think we Californians are these crazy lunatics who vote for people like Gavin Newsom. We are not. We are not. You're not voting for him. I'm not voting for. I don't know. When we tried to recall Gavin Newsom, half the signatures were Democrats. Okay, people don't like communists. People don't like hypocrites.
Tyranny.
People don't like tyranny. We don't like it. We're not voting for it. Our state is captured.
But why didn't you succeed in 2021 in the recall?
I think we did. I honestly think we did. I was out there gathering signatures. Even people that barely knew about Gavin Newsom couldn't stand him, especially when he went and had dinner at the French Laundry while he locked the rest of us down. People saw his hypocrisy, and they see how the policies are destroying us. Here in California, thanks to Kamala Harris, who used to be the Attorney General of this state and would change the names of propositions to confuse people. She changed the name of a proposition. I don't remember the number of it right now, but she changed it to the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act or something like that. Well, what did that? So people voted for it. They voted against their own values. What has that resulted in? Now in California, any thug can walk into any store and steal $950 worth of merchandise every day without any punishment. That's unbelievable. You wonder why companies are leaving the state, why they can't, survive here? Because the tyrants are allowing the thugs to control. It's unbelievable. And so we've been, working very hard to get rid of people like Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, but they keep getting promoted. Why? Because the unions have captured our country. The so-called teacher unions, SEIU, these other government unions. I'm not talking about your local, private sector. Those unions, some are good, some are bad. That's between that company and the employees there. But government unions, where everybody funding them is paid by taxpayer dollars, and then those unions get their dues via taxpayer dollars, and then the unions put people into office, and then the unions negotiate across the table with people they put into office. It's totally corrupt. And so that's what's wrong with California. It's unions. They've captured us. Some people think that Big Pharma is the biggest problem. From 2000 to 2009, there was a study done on those 10 years, that 10-year span. This is the latest study that's been done by a nonpartisan group. I hope they do a new one soon. But in that study, they studied the 15 biggest spenders to impact California politics. The California Teachers Association topped the list at number 1, and they spent they spent 2 times that of Big Pharma. Big Pharma was number 4 on the list.
Oh, wow.
So we're smart to be leery of Big Pharma. They're corrupt, but the teachers' unions are worse. And they're not really for teachers. They claim they are, but they're not. And so I went into this long thing and forgot to mention the sexualization of the kids. So it's the so-called teacher unions who put they put Obama in office, Biden, Harris, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, who put tampons in boys' bathrooms, who created a snitching policy for Minnesotans, that if your neighbor's not, social distancing and wearing a mask at their house, you can call and snitch on them.
It was here in California as well.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
here
communism.
In California. It's communism. It's 100%
Literally, yes.
communist. Thank you for seeing it. You see it because all the immigrants I know who have come from tyranny see it. They see it as clear as day. Clear as day. Yes. I have a friend who was from Poland, and the first time she saw Obama's posters, the first time he ran.
Thank you.
Yes. She said, she looked at his poster, she goes, "That man's a communist."
That's designed by communists.
Exactly.
That's their design.
That's exactly right.
How about forward?
Yeah,
that's communism.
It is. How about
Lenin?
How about strength through joy? That's communism. All of it. So I literally just released a piece in townhall.com this morning. And it was so hard to find a place for that piece because it was telling the truth. And most organizations won't print the truth. And in that piece, I lay out all the different slogans that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are using right now, along with all their friends on the left, so-called teachers union, that are literally slogans from Nazi Germany, from the Bolsheviks, from the Soviets. It's once you see it, you can't unsee it, right?
Yes.
So thank God for the immigrants who see the truth, and I hope more immigrants get a louder voice, because I've been trying to blow the whistle on this for over 35 years, and most American citizens would not listen to me. They thought I was kooky. Now they see it.
You've never experienced the communism. We did. My dad did. My grandma did.
Exactly. My ancestors did.
Yes.
And thank God somebody told me stories, right? And thank God somehow, because I didn't get it in school. They didn't teach me this in school. But somehow I read the right books at the right time. I was very interested in Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and very early on read about him.
I'm reading his book right now, Metaxas.
Oh, that one's wonderful. The one I read was an earlier copy, but I'm reading Metaxas right now. It's outstanding. So it's so important. It's so important that Americans wake up and see the truth that we are in big trouble right now. Our country is this close to falling over into total tyranny. And we have people, look, I have nothing against golf. I like golf. I like to play golf. But I have a problem with people that are on the golf course every day when we're about to lose our country. Set aside your golf clubs. Set aside your, parties, your travel all over the place, whatever it is, your sports, whatever it is you're into. There's nothing wrong with those things. Bless you if you want to do those things, but not now. Not now. We have 2 months before this election. And the left will steal this election again if we aren't working harder than them, and if we aren't everywhere to not expose it after it happens, but stop it before it happens. So, I guess you can tell I'm kind of passionate about this. And the reason I understand it so much is because here I was, a little kindergarten teacher, first grade teacher, I taught elementary school, and I thought my job was just the sweetest job in the whole wide world. I actually thought I was going to be able to go to work every day. bless the children with knowledge.
Rainbows and unicorns.
Exactly. Only they've ruined the rainbows and unicorns
Yes.
now too. The rainbow belongs to God.
Yes.
That's his promise to us. How dare though, you know what? And they call it pride. Pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall.
That's why Satan fell.
That's right. Exactly why Satan fell. So they are really walking on thin ice using God's rainbow and being prideful. I pray for their salvation that they'd stop this before it destroys them and all of us. But anyway, I lost my train of thought.
So at school, we were always taught the greatest evil of all, that was Nazi Germany and Hitler, right?
That's what they said.
Yes, he was. But at the same time, the Russians, a.k.a. the Soviet Union, was
right.
as big as evil as Hitler was.
That's right.
That's a death cult.
That's right.
Just Stalin killed, I want to say, up to 20 million his own people.
Unbelievable.
His own people.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And it's not just Nazi Germany, and it's not just the Soviet Union. They did it in Romania.
Yes.
Right? The people of Romania suffered
With Ceausescu,
horribly under
yes.
Ceausescu. I have personal friends. I was just meeting with a brand new friend, actually, that I just met last week, a gentleman who was born 2 years into Ceausescu's reign. His entire childhood, and early life was impacted by that evil tyrant. And, and he shared how his father was murdered because his father was in the military and dared to try to expose what was going on inside the military, and so they killed him. And then his brother was thrown in prison for trying to escape. And just unbelievable stories of how, his grandfather's farm, 100-acre farm, was, of course, seized by the government. And cut up into parts, and his grandfather got to live on a little part.
You Americans just don't get it.
They don't.
They seize your farms, houses,
Exactly.
home.
That's right.
They will do it. They did it 100 years ago in the Soviet Russia.
They will take everything.
From kulaks. They did it.
they did.
And they threw them in jail.
That's right.
Or they killed them.
That's right. That's right. Okay, let's bring it to this.
People don't get it.
We're in the United States of America right now. Okay, we're talking about history. We have January 6 people in jail who are political prisoners who did nothing wrong. We have the right to peaceful protest in this country, a constitutional right. They showed up with their constitutional right, waving American flags, and some of them are still rotting in prison today. One young man committed suicide in that prison. And there's probably more that I don't know about. It's unbelievable. What's his name? Steve Bannon is rotting in a prison right now as a political prisoner. There's a 75-year-old woman who was just praying in front of a Planned Parenthood, butcher shop where they
Yes.
murder little babies and tell women lies, manipulate women into murdering their own babies. And that doesn't leave a woman for life. I know many women who believe the lie of the left, the satanic lie of the left, that it's okay to butcher your own baby. They believed it. They believed it was a clump of cells or whatever. And to this day, 60 years later, they're still full of shame and grief. I pray they get help from the Lord to heal from that. And I know men who are full of grief and shame from that, from abortions early in their lives that they haven't taken to the Lord. And you're right. You said it's a culture of death. That's exactly what it is. And what we saw in history, what you understand because you lived it, what I understand because I've studied it and my family, my ancestors lived it, is that just like Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. Mm-hmm. This is the same satanic agenda. They use the same slogans, they use the same wicked, and they manipulate people with propaganda in the same way. People fall for it, right? They believe strength through joy, right?
Everything's going to be free.
Yeah.
Free education,
Yeah.
healthcare,
Unbelievable.
housing. Everything's going to be free. Who's going to pay for that?
Yeah. You and
Study
me.
economics at school.
Exactly.
But they don't teach this.
Teach economics. It's unreal.
Because economics is racist.
That-
I believe.
So-called racist. Unbelievable. And we can't allow them to continue to label us things like racist. That's unbelievable. They're the racists. They're the ones pitting everybody against each other
Yes.
based on the color of our skin, based on the languages we speak, based on how much money we make, based on whether we're gay, straight, or, all these other things they make up, these pretend things. They're the racists.
I didn't choose the color of my skin when I was born.
Exactly. God chose it.
Yes. I'm choosing whether I'm a piece of shit or I'm a good person. That's it. Everyone can do it.
Exactly. So right. That's so right. So we have to, what I see, Apollo, and I'm sure you see this too, is we have way too many people who are too afraid to speak out or to stand up and say, no, you're a liar. Because I'll tell you what, the Bible says that Satan is a liar and the father of lies.
Yes.
And these people on the left lie 24/7. They call you a racist, that's a lie. They call me a racist, that's a lie. I don't have to defend myself, you don't have to defend yourself. It's a lie. They're lying. And it's time more people stand up boldly in their faith, in the truth, and say, you're a liar from the pit of hell. I'm not listening to your lie. Because we can't get in this dance with them where they accuse us of some lie and we try to defend ourselves, or we go crawl in a hole and cry.
Yes.
Give me a break, right? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Stand up. So it's so, oh my goodness, it's so important, or we're going to fall. We're going to end up just like your ancestors and my ancestors. We're going to end up just like the Jews in Nazi Germany. We're going to end up just like the Romanians under the thumb of Ceausescu. We're going to end up just like, et cetera, et cetera.
You're going to end up just like the UK right now. Just look at the United Kingdom.
Exactly.
They're throwing people in jail just for memes on Facebook, for
That's
the
right.
comments,
That's
for racist
right.
comments.
That's right. Who's that Telegram founder they
Pavel
threw in?
Durov.
Yes. My goodness, he's one of the greatest guys around, speaking truth, and they throw him in prison over that. Is that what we want?
And Zuckerberg admitted.
Oh my
admitted. He
did.
was in this election.
He did.
Nothing.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up. I just penned an editorial about Zuckerberg. Now, it's been picked up by Real Clear Politics, and I hope they print it. I hope it comes out on Monday. The whole piece, I'm saying, okay, Zuckerberg, you said this. You said that, you're sorry, kind of a confession letter. You're sorry that you got manipulated by the Biden administration. He named Biden, that they got you all to censor speech with your, quote, fact checkers.
Yes.
Who are full of lies. Okay, so I challenge him because I want to tell you something. I had the great honor of speaking at the 2020 Republican National Convention. I was the first speaker on the first night. After Charlie Kirk introduced the whole event, I was the first testimony, sharing about how the so-called teacher unions bully teachers like me and harm little kids and spit on my friends when we go to union meetings and we speak out and say, you shouldn't be sexualizing the children. They spit on us. They bar us from committees. They treat us like dirt. They have big thugs that block us from going back to our seat because we dare to protect the children. That's how these radical so-called teacher unions treat dedicated teachers. So I had the great honor of sharing that at the 2020 Republican National Convention. Do you want to know what Zuckerberg did to me? And Twitter? So
Shadow
Twitter
banned.
did it. Twitter did it. Facebook, Instagram, which is both, those are both
Meta.
Zuckerberg. Shadow banned me. So severe, the minute my speech was over, shadow banned me so severely, I'm still shadow banned to this day, so severely that I went from growing pages that were growing rapidly. I'd stay up all night working on it, and people that were actively awakening to what I was trying to help them to see about the so-called unions in our educational system. I was shut down immediately. Pages are still there. We still post to them, but no one sees the posts. What shadow banning is your posts don't go into the feed of your followers.
Or it doesn't appear on an Explore page.
Exactly. And so we even Meta Analytics prove that I'm shadow banned. So I write this letter, this editorial in response to Zuckerberg's letter that'll hopefully be printed on Monday. And I say in there, look, how can you say that you're sorry when I'm still shadow banned to this day? And the day after his letter was released, my personal account was suspended.
For what?
For nothing. I don't know. It doesn't tell me. It says because it's attached to another page that broke their policies or whatever. Well, the only page it's attached to is the one we use to try to get the word out. It's called @Rebecca for Kids. And that page, I'm just posting the truth about the so-called teacher unions.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. I post the truth.
He's a weasel. Don't believe any word of his.
Exactly. I call his bluff at the end of my piece. Hey, look, if you're really sorry, then free me and all the people like me. You can find me at Rebecca for Kids.
Thousands of people like you.
I would bet millions, but at least thousands for sure. I know dozens. Some of them, their pages are completely gone. And then somebody like me, Apollo, I was an elementary school teacher. Okay, when I figured out what was going on in these wicked unions, I probably should tell the story just so your
Sure.
listeners know the history. So I was a student teacher in 1987, which means I was done with my education, but I had to learn underneath a really good teacher. And so I had this master teacher. She was incredible. And I learned everything. I didn't learn anything in college. I learned everything from her, right? In her classroom with her cute little first graders. It was great. I learned phonics from her because when I was in school, they taught me Dick and Jane. So it wasn't good teaching. Thank God my parents were helping me learn how to read. But so I learned phonics in college, and all these lights came on. Now I know why you put an E at the end or you don't put an E at the end. Now I know why you double a consonant when you add ing. Like it all started to make sense to me. I'd had to memorize it before. Now I knew why. Because phonics is, there's a structure. It teaches you why. So anyway, I learned that from her. I learned how to run a classroom, how to be a great teacher from her. But every single day, Apollo, I would witness as the teacher next door would abuse the children. Okay, these were first graders. They came up to her waist. Mm-hmm. Every day I watched while she would grab them, yank them like this, and scream in their little faces like this.
She's sick.
Angry.
She's sick.
She was sick. Very angry. And I will tell you what she hated. She hated little boys. And she picked on the wiggly little boys. And that offended me deeply. I have a son who's a wiggly little boy. You know what? He's the smartest dang person I know. The kid builds rockets for Elon Musk. He works for SpaceX.
Really?
Yes, my son. He's amazing. Okay? Amazingly smart young man. But I always called him Tasmanian Devil because he was always moving, right?
Brilliant.
God made him that way because he had important work for my son to do. Well, this lady, she would pick on boys like my son. Because they wouldn't sit like a little girl all day and, act like a girl for 7 hours a day, filling in bubbles, bored out of their minds, right? Okay, she didn't understand boys. She abused boys. So I witnessed it every single day. So I went to my master teacher and I said, I'm learning that I'm a mandated reporter of child abuse. Mm-hmm. And I see child abuse. It's the teacher next door. What do I do? She set me down that day. She said, Rebecca, today is the day you learn about teacher unions. She said, we know she's abusive, but the district can't get rid of her because the so-called teacher unions are defending her job. And at that time, I thought it was this tenure, that is the problem. That's not the bigger problem. The bigger problem is collective bargaining. So the so-called unions were able to manipulate the politicians that they control, and even some they didn't control. They manipulated with their propaganda, and they were able to get government unions where, first of all, government unions were illegal in this country. Then all of a sudden they weren't because of all their lobbying. And then all of a sudden they got the right to collectively bargain. Well, teachers and others think collective bargaining, it's the greatest thing in the world because I have a big paycheck and a pension. No, it's the worst thing in the world. Because what it did is it removed parents from the process. Parents are no longer allowed in the negotiation. But their children are the customer? That's wicked, okay? And I'm sorry to say, but now the teaching profession, people who used to go into the profession because they wanted to serve and because they loved children and because they were well educated and they wanted to educate the children, now their main focus is how much do I get paid and I want my pension. That's broken my heart, but how I've seen the teaching profession morph from servants to putting their hand out for more. It's disgusting. And I don't mean to sound offensive. I love teachers, good ones. I love good teachers, but I'm offended by people that come into my profession with their hand out for money and pension while they're damaging little kids. And they are. Their union is damaging, destroying families and kids. So once I saw this abuse and found out it was the union, and I was 22. I didn't know much. I thought it was all rainbows, right? So I was just shocked. But I knew I didn't want to pay that union. So when I, a few months later, signed my first contract as a teacher, union comes in, they say, sign here. I said, no, thank you. I don't want to join your union. Well, why not? We give you blah, 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 blah. I said, because you allow people to abuse little children, and I'm against that. And you know what they said to me, Apollo?
You're going to regret it.
No, that I could have lived with that because, okay, whatever, I can handle that. No, they said, you want to teach? You'll sign. And that's when I found out that thanks to a U.S. Supreme Court decision, Abood versus Detroit Board of Education in 1977, since that decision, I was forced by law as a condition of employment to pay them by law.
That's not freedom.
That is not freedom. That is tyranny. And it's also forced speech. They were forcing me to fund the speech and the behavior and the politics and the abuse of this wicked system. So basically, this is how it works. Since 1977, every single government employee in the United States of America who is part of a government union, think about it. That's teachers, cops, firefighters, DMV workers, CDC employees, FBI, CIA, not the big guys at FBI, but everybody under them, unionized, CIA, DOJ, the Department of Ed at all levels, state levels, national level. We're talking millions and millions and millions of people, all forced to fund a union as a condition of employment. A union that is run by communists and purposely trying to infiltrate the United States of America to destroy it. Okay, and all these people think, or most of them, oh great, this union's going to get me a raise or whatever. In the beginning, people, they knew they didn't want these unions, but it was forced on them. Okay, so it's forced on all of us. So I mean, it's obvious that God prepared me for what was coming later in my life, because why at 22 I was knowing this stuff, right? It's like, what 22-year-old teacher even knows this stuff? Well, thank God I learned it, and I had a master teacher who understood and knew what to tell me. So this is what I discovered. The unions have been able to get away with this wicked scheme, first of all, because they controlled the Supreme Court in the 70s, but because they would tell the public through their propaganda, oh, no one is forced to be a member of the unions. Nobody's forced to pay dues. And so the American people believed them. Mm-hmm. What's the truth? I wasn't forced to be a member. I didn't have to check the box, I'm a member. But I was forced to accept their representation. And I was forced to pay fees. Not dues, because I'm not a member. I had to pay fees. Okay. The difference between dues and fees when I was a first-year teacher was like $35 a year. So I'm paying hundreds and hundreds a year to this wicked organization as a non-member. And by the way, because I was a non-member, I didn't get a vote. I didn't get to go to their meetings. And they denied me their liability insurance. So, if they, make sure that I get sued or something, because they set teachers up all the time, cause horrible things to happen to them. We can go into that later if you want. But so I didn't get their liability insurance, which teachers so desperately want, because I wouldn't be a member of their club. I was forced to pay them. That was the most wicked scheme I had ever heard of. So my whole career I pushed back as a non-member fee payer, paying all these fees, being forced, we'd have a weekly staff meetings with our principal, and the principal at one point every week would have to step out while the union stepped in and tried to manipulate us all, convince us that letting parents choose where their kids are educated and how their kids are educated is evil and is going to destroy the schools. And I mean, it was unbelievable. I was like, these people are crazy.
They're not teachers.
Who?
The unions, the union members.
Oh. Yeah, the union members are teachers, but they get manipulated by the union leaders.
Not the members, yeah.
I'm so glad you asked this, because National Education Association, NEA, they're really good at making themselves look like teachers. Most of their leaders taught in the classroom for a time. Okay. One of them was even a kindergarten teacher. It looked so sweet. Okay. But American Federation of Teachers, which is the smaller, the president of that, Randy Weingarten, this nasty lady that people know, if you've seen her, you know how nasty she is. She taught 1 year. We FOIA'd her work record. 1 year she taught. Why did she do that? So she could say she's a teacher. These people aren't teachers. They're community organizers. What's a community organizer? It's somebody who works for the Communist Party and riles people up and, has all these, protests and riots and all that. Oh, you see a riot on TV? You see a protest, I watch it, I go, yeah, the unions are behind that. I know, because I see their tactics. Just like when we saw Obama's sign, oh yeah, he's a communist. Because there's, they've got a fist or whatever on there that gives it away. Hope, yeah, hope and change. Boy, did he
the bright future, Lenin.
Yeah, unbelievable. Boy, did he bring change. And now it's hopeless, right? Not hopeless, but we feel hopeless. So anyway, I taught 28 years. Apollo, I'd still be teaching if it wasn't so stinking corrupt. So I loved my job. I miss my students so much it hurts. And I was a great teacher. I dedicated everything, first to my family and then to my students. And so I got about, I taught 28 years, so it might have been about 20 years in, 19, 20 years in, I thought, you know what? I have to pay these evil people, but I don't have a voice. And I kept talking to teachers, and they all agreed with me that all this crazy stuff, they didn't want the kids to be sexualized. They didn't want this crazy stuff. So I said, I'm going to become a full member, and I'm going to become a union rep. And I did. So I became a union rep. I stood up. I was a representative for 3 years, just long enough to realize these people are communists. I'm very glad I was on the inside as a union rep. It made me a much better plaintiff later when I sued them because they couldn't lie. They could tell their lies. It's very interesting that 0 union leaders will debate me. And I've asked, why won't they debate me? Because I know the truth.
Yes.
They'll spew some lie and I'll say, no, this is the truth. They won't talk to me. So that's very, very telling, right? So anyway, I become a union rep. I serve on the executive board of my local union. I'm going to state level California Teacher Association meetings. And I'll just tell one story. My husband went with me. My husband taught 42 years, a music professor, very dedicated to his students. He would have taught longer too if it didn't get so corrupt. It got to where he was the director of the School of Music and Dance at San Diego State University. It got to where he couldn't even bring a great program to the students because the unions were destroying it so much. They were forcing him to keep, quote, professors who were, just horrible. He couldn't get rid of them because of the union. So he finally quit teaching too. He retired. I actually resigned. I'm not retired. So anyway, so I'm a union rep, and my husband and I go to this California Teacher Association annual leadership meeting, and we walk in the expo center, and we go, we got to be in the wrong place because every booth in that expo was Planned Parenthood.
No way.
Yep. Rainbow this, Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, ACLU, you name it. You name the far left crazy organization that's destroying our kids and destroying our country. It was there. And I go, this doesn't have anything to do with teaching. I couldn't find a math manipulative or, books about the alphabet. I couldn't find anything. My husband couldn't find music stuff. So we go up to check in and we go, we think we're in the wrong, convention. Mm-hmm. We're here for the teacher union. Oh, you're in the right place. Welcome. And we were stunned. So they invite us up to these several different suites. Oh, you can go to all these different suites. We're having welcome receptions in these different suites. So my husband and I, we don't know what we're our first time. We go up, Apollo, in these suites, in a fancy Marriott, by the way, free-flowing alcohol, all you want, the full bar, free, all this expensive food, escargot and that kind of stuff. And all they're doing is bashing people of faith, bashed us right to our face. I go, I'm a Christian. And they're like, because they assume we all hate God like they hate God. They assume we all believe in their agenda, right?
Give me an example. How did they bash?
Oh, they would just say negative things about Christians and conservatives. Oh, these Christians, they're so whatever, racist, or you know how they are. And it's been many years ago, so I don't remember the exact words, but this happened to us multiple times over the years, where they just bash you right to your face. They don't know you're a Christian, right? Or a Jew. I had a friend of mine that served on the union board with me who was a Jew, very strong conservative, and they'd cut him down right to his face too. Okay, they hate God. So, and I would say to them, well, I'm a Christian. And then they'd just kind of act awkward, right? Nobody ever stuck up for themselves, I guess. Just let them treat them like dirt. So anyway, we were disgusted that a bunch of teachers are funding this. Off the backs of hardworking teachers, these union leaders are partying. Mm-hmm. They're living a limousine lifestyle. Okay, this was just California. There's 50 states. Okay, there's 50 states. These people are partying all year. There's 52 weeks in a year. They're having an annual meeting in every state all year, every weekend. They're dining on fancy food. They're drinking all the alcohol off the backs of hardworking teachers. I found out these union leaders, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer of the NEA and the AFT, they're making over $500,000 a year, and some of them get housing allowance on top of that. They get car loans from the union, all off the backs of hardworking teachers. kindergarten teachers trying to teach kids how to read. So most teachers don't know this, but I saw it with my own eyes. So, and then, there's a million more stories I could tell you, but it was corrupt. Corrupt as could be, and communist as could be. They're just trying to destroy us and our kids. So while we were at a CTA annual meeting, I'm sitting in a room, there's about 300...
CTA is California Teachers Association.
California Teacher Association, yep. And this was during the Obama administration, so it was probably like 2009, 2010, I don't remember. That's when I was serving as a union rep. And we're about 300 of us eating breakfast, and it was Q&A. National Education Association leaders and California Teacher Association leaders up on the platform, including Lily Eskelsen Garcia, horrible woman who used to be the president of NEA. Very mean, bullied all of us. So they're up on the stage and they say, oh, we're opening it up to Q&A. Okay, we're all members of supposedly a union that's supposedly representing us, and now they're giving us a chance to have Q&A. This brave teacher stands up. She says, I'm representing my teachers from whatever district in California, and we're very concerned about the way you're spending our dues money on politics. We don't want to fund politics, far left politics. We don't want to fund this. We just want to teach. We want you just to represent us.
Get her out.
Oh, it was worse than that. But
No.
Yes, that's the idea. All of a sudden, all these thuggish people that were mixed into the crowd surrounded her. Like this. Physically surrounded her with their arms crossed like this and very intimidating looks on their faces, right? Towering over her. The ones on the stage, including Lily Eskelsen Garcia, they did the same thing from the stage, okay? I kid you not, all 300 of us were dead silent, okay? It was, you could feel, it was visceral.
Hunger Games.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we're all sitting there, and then they start from the stage. If you don't agree with our politics, you're a bigot, you're a racist, okay, this is 2009, 2010, okay? The teacher unions write the talking points for the left, so we always heard things long before everybody else. You're a this, you're a that, you're a hater, blah, 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 blah. They just totally pummeled her with their words. Now, I'm very ashamed to admit that I sat there glued to my chair, stunned. I should have got my butt out of the seat and I should have gone over and stood with that woman, but I didn't. My dad always taught me, you stand up for the weak. We always stood up for the weak. Kids bullied in school, we stood up for them. But in this situation, it was so intimidating. My birthright was to stand up, and I'm sitting there stuck to my chair. Couldn't will myself up. Everyone around me, I knew everyone at my table. They were all Christians except one who was a Jew. People of faith, kind people who didn't believe in bullying people like that. And none of them did anything or said anything. I left that event so deeply traumatized, and I asked God for forgiveness, and I asked him to give me the courage to stand up to this evil regime known as so-called teacher unions. So that was a turning point for me. Many other things happened that were straw that broke the camel's back, but that was a huge turning point. So in 2012, October 2012, I'm just doing my Bible study every morning, that first time in the morning. And the study asks the question, is there something you believe God's been asking you to do, but you haven't done it? You're afraid, whatever. Yes. What is it? I'm supposed to be writing. I'm supposed to be writing for his glory, I think I wrote. And then it said, well, will you obey him and do it? Apollo, I did not answer the question right away. I prayed for 3 days on that question because I didn't want to be Jonah in the belly of a fish. I didn't want to tell God yes and then not do it, right? So I prayed and I prayed. I said, if I write to expose these wicked unions, they're going to do this to me. Mm-hmm. They're going to do this to my kids. Okay, my son was in high school, a public high school, and my older son was in a public university, a baseball player on a baseball scholarship. I didn't want their lives, I want them to stand up. I want them to know how to stand up. But I didn't want them, they're going to do this to them. They're going to, I gave God the whole list of everything that was going to go wrong. And I don't hear voices, just that still small voice. And he says to me, in my heart, of course they're going to do those things. And here's what you do. Here's how you handle it. And I don't even remember what he told me, but it gave me peace like a river. I can do that. I can do that. So I went down and answered the question after 3 days. Yes, I'll do it. So the very next day, I had my first opportunity to write an editorial just for my local newspaper. Okay, my goal was get the information to the Orange County Register, because I live in Orange County, right? Oh, and I forgot to tell you, one of the things God used to give me the courage, you know that story of the widow's mite? It's only 2 verses long. Have you ever heard the widow's mite? Oh, it's a powerful story. It's from the New Testament. And Jesus sees this woman, and he says to his disciples, do you see that? He points her out. Do you see that woman right there? She just gave 2 mites. That's like 2 pennies. Mm-hmm. She just gave 2 mites.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she gave more than anybody else because she gave everything she had.
Everything she had, yes.
So, because I had said to God, I have nothing to give. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I don't know anybody in media. I have 0 contacts. I don't, and he said to me, just give me your 2 mites. The rest of it's my problem. That took so much stress off me. Oh, I don't have to solve the problems of the world. I just have to do my part.
Because you don't bully little people of God.
That's right. That's right. I love that. So I obeyed him. I wrote my first editorial, having no idea how to even submit it. I knew how to submit to letters of the editor because they tell you how to do that in the paper. I had no idea how to submit an editorial. I sent it to to the editor with this lame note. I don't know how to submit this editorial, but I'm sick and tired of reading in your pages that the unions are so great when they're not. They're bullying me. They're lying. Please, please print this. They printed it. And then it got picked up all over the nation by online sites because apparently they'd never heard a teacher speak out and say these unions are horrible. So it just was everywhere. So wow. So within 6 months, I kept writing. I kept submitting editorials. Within 6 months of that first editorial, I was lead plaintiff in a federal lawsuit heading to the U.S. Supreme Court, suing the California Teachers Association and the National Education Association and our local unions and our local superintendents. There were 10 plaintiffs from 10 different school districts. We sued our superintendents. It wasn't anything personal. It was to stop the collection of dues through paycheck deductions. We thought that was unconstitutional for the taxpayer to pay for the collection of dues and then hand it over to a private organization, especially one that's destroying the country. So I'm in this, my goal, I just say this because when God asks us to do something and we do it, he shows up. Mm-hmm. Who was it? His name is... Shame on me, one of our founders, Adams, John Quincy Adams. He said, duty is ours, results are God's. And that is so true because I just thought, okay, I'll get one editorial in the Orange County Register. Now I'm headed to the U.S. Supreme Court as the lead plaintiff. Okay, now I've got media training and I'm out on, all these news stations and writing more, and I couldn't believe it. And it was a joy. It was a joy to do it. The number one question people asked me, are you afraid for your life? Of course. Of course. When it takes courage to do something, it's because it's scary, right? But God took care of us.
And it's even more scary when you ask those questions.
Yeah.
Are you scared of... I never thought of this.
I know.
Should I?
Isn't it true?
What are you doing?
Isn't it true? People do that all the time. But, thank God God had given me the peace. My poor husband had nightmares through the whole case. He had nightmares that people were chasing me off the road or trying to kill me. He doesn't have nightmares anymore. But thank God we got to do that. So I told you in 1977, every government employee was forced as a condition of employment to fund unions. And the so-called teacher unions are collecting around $5 billion annually, tax-free, just the teacher unions. They spend it all to destroy us.
$5 billion.
$5 billion with a B, annually. And right now we're digging through all their 990s to get the exact number, because I bet it's even bigger. That's an estimate based on, all the stuff we know. So we're actually digging. But $5 billion, that's just one. That's just the education. Okay? Why did we all get locked down and put masks on our faces, totally non-scientific and all these... The 1977, everybody was forced. Well, by God's grace, on my birthday, June 27, 2018, every government employee in this country was freed from forced unionism at the U.S. Supreme Court. That's what we were fighting for. So now, 0 American citizens are forced to pay a government union. 0. They don't have to give them 1 penny. The unions still lie to them and say they do, but they don't. Unfortunately, the unions are still the monopoly bargaining agent. They're still in there. They're still, somebody else needs to sue them to kick them out completely. Or even better, let's just make it so that unions are illegal again, because they should be illegal. Government unions, they're destroying us. But anyway, nobody has to pay them anymore. But Apollo, right after that, well, right after our case was heard and all of that, I left the classroom. I still love my students. I'd still love to have a paycheck. I don't have a paycheck anymore. I left the classroom because I knew it was my job to get the word out to the American people that they no longer have to pay these wicked people. Because do you know, the majority of government employees are still paying them. They're still paying them. They still think the union is their savior, and the unions, because it gives them a pay and pension, right? No. Your government union is destroying you. They're destroying your freedoms. They're destroying your children. They're transgendering your children. They're sexualizing your children. And if they're able to get their if they're able to get Kamala in and get their whole communism going, you'll lose everything. Your pension won't be there for you. Maybe you'll get 10% of it. Maybe you'll get nothing. So it's time for people to awaken, to look. Stop funding the evil. I mean, they're literally funding a satanic agenda, and they think that it's good, that they're doing something good. So that's my job, is to get out and to speak the truth, that you don't have to pay them anymore, and please don't pay them anymore. If you're a person of faith, talk to God about it. He'll convict you that you shouldn't pay them anymore, because it's a satanic agenda. So that's all I do, and that's why they shadow ban me. And I'll mention this. When I was shadow banned, it was still Twitter, right? Meta and Twitter. I'm still shadow banned on X, but it's because we can't get a hold of anybody. We've tried so hard to break through, to get a hold of their tech, whoever, and we can't. And my son, who works for SpaceX, I'm like, could you reach out to Elon? And he doesn't want to put his job on the line. So we're just praying that we can somehow reach Elon or somebody in his circle, because I know they would free us. Elon hates those unions, and his oldest son was transgendered in his school, and it's the so-called teacher unions who are pushing that transgender agenda into our schools and into our country. And so I know he would love us, because we're fighting the very things he hates. We just need his attention and help getting freed there. So that's my story. That's how I got into this this battle.
But why doesn't, for instance, teachers union doesn't stand up for the teachers when they are getting bullied at school?
Well, because the unions are the ones bullying the teachers. They are the bullies.
Yeah, but when the students bully the teachers,
the unions
I see it all
that.
the time.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this question. So the so-called unions, well, the first presidential candidate that they supported was Jimmy Carter. Okay, they got him into office. His thank you gift to them was the National Department of Education with a cabinet position, so that they could control. That's how they got control of our schools. Thank you, Jimmy Carter.
And that's how Department of Education was created?
Yep.
In the first place?
Yep. And the cabinet position. Okay, wicked. That's wicked. So they start controlling our country, or our schools, through that. Now, fast forward. They put Obama in office twice. When they put Obama in office, and most teachers don't know this. I hope teachers are listening. I hope we can
but why are you saying they put him in office?
The so-called teacher unions put Obama in office. Money, lots of it. I told you they collect about $5 billion annually, tax-free, and they manipulate teachers to be boots on the ground, going door to door, phone banking. You can't believe how much work teachers do for the so-called unions and their communist agenda.
Can you do that?
Oh my gosh! I don't think you should be able to do it, but it's happening. When I was a teacher, constantly, they were telling us we had to phone bank against school choice. We had to phone bank against Trump, whatever conservative was in office. Phone bank against Bush, whoever it was. Always phone banking against the values of our own students. Only their propaganda was so manipulative, people buy into it. There are millions of teachers around this country who are manipulated or bullied into sitting down and phone banking, calling the very parents whose kids they've had in their class. These parents trust them. Hi, this is Mrs. Smith. Oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. It's so great to hear you. What do you need? I'll do anything for you. Well, we need to defeat, this parental choice bill. It's not what it claims to be. It's going to destroy our schools. Oh, okay, I'll vote against it. That's happening every day for decades in this country. And these teachers aren't paid to do that. They're manipulated. But let me just tell a story. I can't use a name because I don't have permission to use this person's name. But the district in which I live, Capistrano Unified, massive district, way too big. No school district should be. In fact, we shouldn't have school districts. We should have one-room schoolhouses again and homeschooling. But this massive district, there was a gentleman, teacher, whose uncle was running for office. I think he was running for assembly. I can't remember. Let's say assembly. Well, the unions were against his uncle because his uncle had good values, American values. So in the meetings, in the teacher union meetings, they were putting pressure on all these teachers to campaign against his uncle. Now, the unions didn't know it was his uncle. They're just putting pressure on him. You have to campaign against this guy. This young man, this teacher, was so bullied by the unions. He believed in his uncle. He was voting for his uncle. He had the same values as his uncle. But he was so bullied by the unions, who basically say to you, if you don't get out and campaign, we're taking the money out of your paycheck to cover somebody, to hire somebody to do it for you. Okay, that's the kind of stuff they do. They bullied him so much, he went door to door campaigning against his own uncle, for whom he was voting. Okay, this is how wicked these unions are. Okay, and they have boots on the ground all over the country. They've also totally infiltrated the PTA. The PTA is totally corrupt, run by the unions.
What's PTA?
Parent-Teacher Association, so-called. All these parents think, oh, the PTA is so great, I'm going to join, I'm going to, that's how I'm going to get a voice. No, the PTA is controlled by the unions. When I went to the California State House multiple times to speak out in, protection of children and families, every single time the so-called PTA was there with the unions, backing the sexualization of our kids, or backing the latest AB 1955, I think it was, where they won't give parents rights. PTA was for that. They were at the State House lobbying for it. Okay, they're not a parent-teacher association. They're communists. They're
Perverts Teachers Association.
Perverts, I love it. And they're useful idiots, really, because they're being manipulated. A lot of them think, "Oh, I'm doing the right thing." They're being manipulated. So, so this is how it rolls. This is how these unions work. This is what they do to teachers, and teachers are good teachers. A lot of them have PTSD. A lot of them are retiring early because they just can't take it anymore. They can't take the corruption, the sexualization, all of it. So we got off track. I was talking about the violence in the schools, the teachers getting bullied.
Yes.
Okay, so the unions, the so-called teacher unions, put Obama in office. Once they got Obama in office, the unions wrote policy called racial equity discipline policies. Obama signed it, goes into law. Now, shame on all the school districts, because all they want is a bunch of money, because the unions are taking all their money, so they're always looking for money. So if you sign up for this federal funding that goes along with racial equity discipline policies, which most districts in the country signed up for it, now you get this huge cash flow from the federal government if you follow this policy. What are racial equity discipline policies? They're policies that say children of color, if you have any speck of color, okay, my family on my dad's side, Native American, so I'm 1/8 Native American, so that makes me a person of color, even though I'm white as can be. So any color in you, well, now you're not allowed to suspend these kids anymore. Even if they punch the teacher in the face, even if they throw a chair at another student, even if they steal a computer and throw it on the ground, all these things have happened. These are real examples that kids have done in our public schools. These kids are out of control, but they're not allowed to be disciplined.
That's racism.
It is racism, 100%. Pushed by Obama, pushed by the so-called teacher union. They're racists. Okay, so if you... Basically what they said is you have to bring down your suspension rates for kids of color. So let's say, for every district it's going to be different. Let's say the district had a 15% suspension rate of kids of color. Well, you have to bring it down to some arbitrary number, let's say 5%. You have to bring it down. If you bring it down, you haven't improved the behavior, you just bring it down,
yes,
more money comes flowing to you from the federal government. If you don't bring it down, they're going to take money away. Okay? This is crooked. This is totally crooked. This is why our schools have become literal war zones. These policies have literally led to school shootings in this country. So Obama, Mr. Hope and Change, did this to us through his pals in the communist so-called teacher unions. So that's why teachers are being pummeled. In Minnesota, okay, you think California's bad? Minnesota's our twin. They're in bad shape in Minnesota. Okay, that Governor Waltz that just got handpicked by Kamala Harris, okay, he's a train wreck. That dude is
He's the best of the best. What are you talking about?
The best of the
he's
communists.
He's the best.
Oh, yeah, if you're a communist, you might think he's the best. But so that man, in that man's state, in Minnesota, sweet little Minnesota nice, all these Minnesota's the greatest state. I have a lot of friends there. Wonderful, beautiful state. In that state, the schools are so out of control because of racial equity discipline policies. I personally know a teacher who has a brain injury because he was attacked by 2 students and nobody came to help him. And he he was pummeled, has a brain injury, hasn't been able to teach since. It happened like 10 years ago. It happened a while ago. I know another precious female teacher that a child attacked and injured her so severely she's not been able to teach since for years. And her name's Debbie York, and she goes out all the time trying to get legislators to understand, you've got to quit promoting these policies. These policies are bad. I know teachers who dared, a black teacher, Aaron Benner, he's in my book actually. Aaron Benner was so brave. He was teaching in St. Paul, Minnesota. He went to the school board meeting and spoke against the racial equity discipline policies. He goes, we're not doing the kids any favors. They're falling apart. We need to discipline them. It's just going to get worse. You know what happened to him after he spoke out?
He got fired.
Nope. But
worse.
But it got to that. Worse. The ACLU came after him. The teacher unions started with the district, made false accusations against him. He had 17 years, perfect record, great teacher, one of the best teachers I've ever met. Perfect record, 17 years. All of a sudden he has 3 investigations against him. Supposedly he abused a kid, supposedly he this, supposedly he that. So they just start harassing the heck out of him. You see what they're doing to President Trump? Okay, that's the kind of stuff they've done to teachers who speak out for a long time. Not on that level, we don't have all the money he has, but they've abused us like that, lawfare, for years to teachers. So they literally tried to destroy his career. And the union did nothing for him. I have him on camera stating how the unions, told him to plead guilty or something, and he wasn't guilty. They did nothing for him. He ended up, thank God, finding a better job in a private school. He's the dean of a private school now. And, he can raise his family. But those kids in that inner city school needed Aaron Benner. He was a great example to them. He was helping them change their lives. And thanks to the evil so-called teacher unions and Obama, a man I'll never respect my whole life, those people destroyed the greatest teacher those little kids probably ever will have. A black man, too, that those young black kids could have emulated themselves after
But he was not black enough.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He wouldn't go along with the black agenda. That was what was wrong. Like Larry Elder, they called him a racist because he wouldn't go along with their agenda. Yeah, and Uncle Tom. So these people they're wicked. You're right. They're racist. And I just have to say, this is a very personal story, but I just have to share this because of what Obama's done to this country. That man has done more to destroy this country along with the unions and all of his friends. When my son was 12 years old, my younger son that I told you is so smart, he's a young man who's very perceptive, very connected to God, and smart, and spinning around like a Tasmanian devil. He came downstairs in our house, and we had the news on. He was only 12 years old. He'll be 29 in a couple of weeks. So this was when Obama was first running for office, when he had the horrible posters that you could see were communists. My son walks downstairs. He sees Obama on the TV. He'd never seen this man before. He didn't know who he was. He's just on the TV. And my son points at the TV and says, "That man is a liar." He saw right through him. Isn't that amazing? Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings. So his lies have done a lot of damage to children in America and to our educational system in America, to our safety in America, to our freedoms in America, and we have to defeat them. We have to defeat their wicked agenda and hold them accountable.
So you're saying all the unions are left?
The government unions.
Government unions.
The only one that's a little tricky is the police union.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because the police union, I talked to a police officer about this because I couldn't figure them out. individualized. Like they have a union for this and a union, and they're not, I guess they're not all under one umbrella. So some of them are bad and some of them are good. So I've seen police officers, be destroyed, through all this rioting and all that, and police officers are blamed for it. And I'm like, where's their union? Why aren't they speaking out for them? So my guess is some of them are corrupt and some of them are good. But all the other government unions that I know of, they're totally corrupt and they're in bed with this wicked system and doing all they can to destroy us. It's like we were talking about the Reagan movie earlier, and I was so glad that they focus on the unions. So it's what the communists did intentionally, and I actually brought the 45 goals of the Communist Party with me. I left them in my bag over there, but in the 45 goals, are you familiar with the 45 goals? Okay, so there was a gentleman, remind me to get back to SAG, the union for the actors, yeah. So in the 1950s, there was a gentleman named W. Cleon Skousen, and he worked in the FBI. And he started seeing the communist infiltration in the 1950s. And because it started very early on, late 1800s. So he sees it with his own eyes.
And those communists were from Russia, USSR?
I don't know the details about where they all were from, because I know there were also Nazis coming in too, Nazis are basically fascists, right?
Yes.
And they're not technically communists, but
if it's a horseshoe with the far left and far right meeting at the center, it's almost the same thing.
That's exactly right. Exactly, I agree with you. Their tactics are the same, right? The results are the same.
Tyranny
Death
and tyranny.
Yep, and death and yeah, it's exactly. So I know they came in from both. So we've been infiltrated through KGB and through Nazis who, quite frankly, weren't hung, right? They got away free. So we end up with these evil people, and then think about it. We thought we brought down the mafia, but we didn't. They just went somewhere, right? They just scattered. Where did all these people go? Into the unions. Okay, so the unions, and they wanted to control the actors because, like you said before, people all over the world are impacted by Hollywood. So they got into Hollywood very early on. But this man, W. Cleon Skousen, he left the FBI because he wanted to write a book to expose this. His book is called The Naked Communist. It's still a bestseller. I highly recommend it. And it's an easy read. It helps you to understand Marx and Engels, who are behind this whole Marxist evil agenda that leads to communism. And so in his book, he listed the 45 goals of the Communist Party to destroy our constitutional republic of America. Those 45 goals, I'm happy to send them to you so you can post them for your audience. I have them on one page, easy read. Once you read those goals, you start to understand what we're going through right now. Goal number 17, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Put the party line in textbooks. Get control of the teacher associations. Okay, so they've done that. Check. They have accomplished it. One of their goals was get control of the media, book review, blah, blah. They've gotten that done. One of the goals was...
ban the religion.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And use pornography to, I forget exactly how it's worded, but, using pornography literally to destroy families. One of the goals says, how is it worded? Something about, getting kids away from their parents, the dangerous influence of parents. Okay, so these communists want to destroy family because family is the foundation of any, culture. It's the very foundation, God and family, God's design, right? Family. So they have to destroy family so that the tyrants can rule. So earlier I said you have to be well-educated and moral. So if you can make the people stupid, or at least manipulated to believe all your lies, and then you can make them immoral, let the tyrants rule at the schools, nobody has any discipline. We didn't even get into the conversation of the sexualization of the kids. The unions pushed that too, sexualizing them, destroy their very identity. God said, I made them male and female. Okay, even if you don't believe in God, it's obvious that we're male and female. All you got to do is stand naked and you know if you're male or female, okay? Simple. DNA proves it. Okay, we have all the evidence we need that
the
there
chromosomes.
are two genders. Yes, there are two genders. So now what do? The so-called teacher unions are the ones who came up with this whole thing that there's an unlimited number of genders, an unlimited spectrum, they call it. And there's all sorts of evidence. All people have to do, go on the California Teacher Association website and look at the archives of their magazines. They talk about it, been talking about it for years. The so-called teacher unions and the PTA, Parent Teacher Association, were behind, in October 2013, they were behind the passage of the first ever law in this nation to allow boys to dominate girls' sports, girls' locker rooms, and girls' bathrooms. The PTA did that, and the so-called teacher unions. And parents paying the PTA dues and teachers paying their union dues paid for it. And they don't know. And they don't know. So I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody, no matter their politics, that agrees with boys beating up on girls in sports or going into girls' locker rooms. Nobody. Nobody's for that. Only communists are for that. So this is what they...
I don't agree with you. There wasn't a thing in Soviet Russia. Boys?
They didn't even do it there?
No, they did. Of course not. You kidding?
See, we're worse. We're worse than Soviet Russia.
Nowadays, communists are way perverse than the communist Russia. There wasn't a thing like that. They were anti-gay. Yeah, they were anti-religion, anti-gay, anti-trans, anti-boys in the girls' locker room or boys in the girls' sports.
Wow.
Nothing like that. No.
So don't you think, based on their history, don't you think they're using people, the whole useful idiot idea again, they're using people, okay, we're going to make gay a thing, we're going to make transgender a thing, we're going to make this all accepted, because once they take over, those are the people they're going to kill first? Because they hate those people, right? Or do you think this is a different breed?
I think it's just communism 3.0, and
wow.
That's just weakening physically and mentally men, because men are willing to stand up for their families.
Exactly.
I will kill for my family.
That's exactly.
But if I'm weak, if I have more estrogen than testosterone, and if I doubt what's my gender, I was like, should I?
100%.
Who am I? What am I?
100%. I got a tickle, sorry. You are so right. So right. They want to emasculate our men. And it starts in the elementary school. And I'm not going to make any friends saying this, but it's the truth. And I speak truth. They are medicating our little boys. They're saying, he's ADHD. No, he's not. I don't believe in ADHD. What is he? He's a little boy that God made. He's
active.
Yes. He's a little boy that God made with energy, like my son, the Tasmanian devil. He's a little boy who needs that energy because he's going to grow up into a strong man who needs to defend his family, who needs to work hard. My son works 12-hour days. He works hard. Right?
And he's happy.
He's happy.
He's got a purpose.
He loves it.
Yes, males have to have purpose.
Yes, and he's strong. And his girlfriend says, I feel safe around him. That's how men are supposed to be, right? But our culture, the unions and the wicked people that are trying to destroy us, they have convinced us that our little boys are deficit and disorder. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, your boy has a deficit because he can't sit still all day. He wasn't made to sit still all day and be bored by your stupid lecture that's not teaching him anything decent because you've removed Western Civ and you've removed the classics and you've removed the courage. You've removed everything he wants to learn, right? And dumbed it all down. He's bored out of his mind. So we're going to put him on speed. That medication is speed. So now they're putting these little boys on speed because they won't act like little girls. That is from the pits of hell. I'll say it. I'll say it. I don't care how many grandmas are mad at me. I'll tell you who cheers for me. Men. Because they're sick and tired of boys being emasculated.
Of course.
And all these women buy into it. Oh, yeah, my son, he's wearing me out. He's supposed to wear you out, lady. Discipline him. He just needs some discipline. And go let him run around a while. Don't lock him up in the house all day. So it's heartbreaking to me. Heartbreaking the way we're treating our boys. And you're right. It's to emasculate them. We're in all the trouble we're in because of so-called unions, government unions, and the friends they run around with. And I'm offended by that. And they're destroying my country. They've totally damaged and destroyed my profession. They're destroying the children. They're destroying families. And I think it's about time we all stand up and say, you're not going to do that anymore. I'm a 5'4" woman. I mean, if I'm in the fight, come on, everybody needs to join. I'm a grandma, and I'm in the fight. So we need some young, strong men to get in this fight. We need women. We need everybody. Nobody can sit on the side. Please, like I said before, just stop playing golf for a couple months, please. It's kind of hot right now anyway. Help us to fight for this country. It is so key. And then we have all these parents who want They want the government to give them money to take their kid to a private school or whatever. I just want to warn people about that. Whenever the government gets involved, your school gets destroyed. Just look at our universities. I would venture to guess that most people don't realize that our universities like Harvard and Yale were started by Christians, and they were started in order to train men in the ministry. Okay, now they're nothing like that. I mean, all you have to do is look at their seals to understand how godly they were, okay, and how effective they were, and how great our country was. Well, what happened? Oh, well, we decided to put federal funding into our universities and give people federal loans and all this stuff. All of a sudden, the price went up crazy.
$100,000
Oh my
minimum.
gosh, it's unbelievable.
What are those money? In Europe, we have never heard of this money.
Yeah, and they
what's
don't
the amount? $100,000, $200,000.
It's unbelievable, and they don't teach you anything. They indoctrinate you into communism. They indoctrinate you out of your faith. They indoctrinate you away from your parents. It's unbelievable. And I have seen this with my own eyes over and over. People who worked so hard to put their kids in college, and the college destroyed their kids. Destroyed them. So we have to stop thinking that way. We have to get back to what we used to be. Did you know that Americans, we only went through 8th grade in the old days? Through 8th grade, you learned more than a person learns at the university today.
It's so good that you brought this up. In Lithuania, I studied for 12 years. So 12 years, 5 days a week, 6 to 7 hours a day.
Yep.
I should be a genius.
That's right. That's how it is here too. Only most of them are, over 60 million of them are functional illiterates.
Every 7th. Wow.
What a waste of their time.
Yes, just a waste of time.
Yeah.
Repeating the same thing every year.
Exactly. And we go to I was just talking to some friends who used to do a lot of missionary work, and they were serving, I think it was in Egypt. I might have that wrong, but I think it was in Egypt. And they always took their kids on the missionary work. So their kids would go into the school. And the daughter came home and said, "Mother, do you want to know what they're teaching the kids in 2nd grade today?" Because she was from the States, where we weren't teaching them anything. They're teaching them about mitochondria in second grade. I didn't get that till 9th grade. And I also got it served up with a bunch of evolution. And I said to my teacher, "Do you know there's no proof of evolution? That's a theory, not a fact." Theory. Hello. If you teach it as a theory, I'm
Yes.
okay with you. And he fought me. Oh, no, it's a fact. I'm like, how could I trust anything else this man said? He's believing a lie. Anyway, these little kids were learning about mitochondria in 2nd grade. That's what it used to be like in the United States of America. Did you know in the USA, with our little one-room schoolhouses and our homeschools and, just these small little microcosms, our kids learned Greek and Latin along with our English language. Greek and Latin. Why? Because Greek and Latin are the roots of the English language. So this also is why you can read better if you have phonics and Greek and Latin. Now you approach a new word you've never seen before, and you know its root. And so you can figure out the meaning of the word if you know its root. I mean, why did we stop doing that? It's insanity.
Prior to that, we were living in Spain for 2 years, so I started learning Spanish. So since I can speak English, I was starting to learn Spanish. I was like, I know this word. I know how to read this word and this word and this word, because the languages are very alike.
Exactly.
And getting back to to the thing of masculinity, I'm sorry, forgive me for my French, but males right now are getting fucked up by food industry with all those hormones, right? And just take a look at the models or at the Hollywood actors right now. 1990s, early 2000s, right? Masculine men.
Yep.
Name me right now. Tom Cruise, right? Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Travolta. Yes.
Muscles.
Maybe not even so muscular, but they're just manly men.
Yes.
Take a look at the Hollywood stars right now. Timothée Chalamet. He looks like a who? I'm sorry, but he looks like a girl.
Who down in Whoville?
Yes.
So it's really sad. We used to call them soy boys, right?
Yes.
We just turned them into pajama.
They have no
soy boys.
hair here.
On purpose. They shave their chests.
A lot of them don't even have the ability to grow the beard or a mustache, or
because they don't have the testosterone level.
Yes.
I know. It's shocking. When are we going to awaken that there is a satanic agenda after us, right? The pharmaceutical industry is evil. The food industry is evil. The educational system is evil. The CDC is evil. The FBI is evil, breaking down the doors of innocent people and letting evil people get away with evil. When are we going to awaken to that? and fight back, right? And that's why they had to make our men weak. Not all, thank God, not all of them are weak, but they have to weaken them so that they won't fight back, or they won't have the ability to fight back. It's shocking.
Just take a look at the 1960s to 70s. I've seen this footage. So in the classrooms, they were climbing, they were doing push-ups, pull-ups. Bring that back. You've ruined it. You screwed it up. Just bring those curriculums, those programs back from the 60s to 70s now.
Totally agree. That was even a federal program. It was called physical fitness something. Because I remember, because I got a medal because I was the strongest girl in my class. And we had to do pull-ups and sprints and I forget if it was a mile run or whatever. Push-ups. It was wonderful.
Not a single person was obese.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, through my whole childhood, I only knew 2 kids that were overweight. And when I visited their homes, their parents were buying things like donuts and pizza. There was a reason they were overweight, and they weren't athletes. Most of us were athletic, were trim. I rode my bike everywhere. And I mean, we were just active. And now, I heard the number the other day, and it shocked me. I can't remember it. I was watching Tucker. He was interviewing a brother-sister team who just wrote a book, and they were giving the numbers of how many children are now obese and have diabetes. It was shocking.
I want to say it's up to 40%, something like that.
It was huge.
It was huge. Percentage-wise, huge.
It was. And I just thought, that's by design.
Yeah.
And so, and it's an existential threat.
It is.
To our nation. Look at the army in China. Those dudes are in good shape and marching with their perfect, That's scary. We're going to go up against that, and we have a bunch of fat kids, and you're not allowed to say fat. I'm going to say it. Fat, fat, fat. You know why? Because fat's not good for you. I'm not teasing somebody because they're fat. It is dangerous. If you're overweight, it can lead to diabetes. It can lead to heart disease. Not only that, it can lead to things like your ankles swelling, or you have a hard time walking because your body wasn't built to carry that much weight.
You're infertile.
Exactly. So, but the left says we're not allowed to say it. We must say it. So you're gonna get this totally because you understand. You understand communism. Many years ago, I think maybe it was 20 years ago, I kept trying to warn my friends, don't fall for political correctness. Please don't fall for that. That's a communist ploy. That's how they get in and they get you to shut up. Nobody would listen to me. So people are all the time saying, oh, well, it's not politically correct to say that. Then say it. We have to say what the evil ones don't want us to say. They don't want us to speak truth. So we have to speak truth. Truth is more powerful than lies, right? And, so their side is, well, if they're following the devil's plan, they're confusion, they're chaos, they're lies. So we have to do this exact opposite. Order and, truth. And it's very simple. Truth is very simple.
And it's your choice to be offended or not.
Exactly.
It's you who choose to be offended or not. I can't offend. You can tell me, so you're bold. So what?
Exactly.
I'm not getting offended by that. I was watching, years ago, I was looking at my father's school book. And he graduated school at that time at 16. And all the guys were there with the mustache. They look 30.
16-year-olds?
Yes.
Wow.
Like, how is it possible? I don't know.
And they were proud of it.
Yes, look like this with mustache.
I love it.
16 years old.
Wow. That's very telling, isn't it?
Yes.
Very telling.
So testosterone levels have been dropping by 1% every year for the last 50 years. 1% every year for 50 years.
That's unbelievable.
Infertility rates are skyrocketing right now.
People,
the families cannot have children, even if they want to. And at the same time, the ones that have and want to, they go to the Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. It's all by design, though. That's on purpose to lower the population. Why? Because God is for, what did he say? Be fruitful and multiply. He's for family. He's for people. And these, I don't want to say they're crazy people. I can't say they're all evil, but they're at least following evil. They're doing the work of evil to want, to lower the population. I was in an airplane the other day, and it was still light out, and I'm looking out for, it was a 5-hour flight, and I'm by the window. I'm looking out a lot. For hundreds and hundreds and thousands of miles, it was just a bunch of empty land. There's plenty of space for everybody, and they keep saying, oh, there's not enough room.
Don't believe your eyes. Not enough room. Not enough room.
Yeah, it's a lie. Just like the lie they told women that it's a clump of cells. You're in your womb. It's a clump of cells. I want to tell you, this is a very personal story. I was probably early 20s, 23, 24 maybe. and my sister had a miscarriage, and she was devastated. And she'd gone to the doctor, and the doctor said, I'm so sorry, there's no heartbeat. But the baby's still, you're going to still pass the baby.
Oh, wow.
So she sent her home with a strainer to put on her toilet to catch the baby, because they wanted to test the baby to see, was there something wrong with the baby or was there something wrong with my sister? Well, I was there when she collected my sweet little niece or nephew. She was only about 9 or 10 weeks along, very early on, maybe 8 weeks, very early on in the pregnancy. And at this time, the left and their demonic agenda, they were saying that it's a clump of tissue, get an abortion. And I never believed them, but this was a powerful moment because I got to see the lie with my own eyes. My sister let me hold my little niece or nephew in the palm of my hand. This little baby had eyes, a nose, ears, a mouth, 10 fingers, 10 toes, perfectly formed little human being, legs, arms, beautiful little perfectly formed human being.
And a soul.
And a soul, yes. Oh my gosh, you gave me the chills. And a soul. And these wicked people are claiming you should abort it. Let's not use abortion anymore. You should murder it out of your womb. And this was a precious little child, my sister's child. And I'm so grateful to her for letting me hold my little niece or nephew and see the truth. And, abortionists see that every single day while they lie about it. I pray they repent. I don't want anybody to have to suffer in eternity. I pray they repent. Mm-hmm. But I also pray that these people who won't repent, I pray this every day, for salvation for these wicked people. Even people like Kamala Harris, I pray for their salvation. The union leaders, I pray for their salvation. And then I say, Lord, but if they are so prideful and hardened that they are not going to bow their knee to you, I pray for the utter destruction of their power, that they not be in power anymore, that they be, totally humbled and have not, just no way to impact, because they're damaging millions of people through lies and deception and propaganda and stealing and you name it. It's just really
basically a death cult. So
death cult.
So a video I'm about to show you, a few months ago I had AJ Hurley, so he's in the White Rose Resistance.
Oh yeah.
And I was having a hard time with the abortion when a doctor says your kid is 100% will have some mental illness or something like that. So I was hard time explaining this in that situation, why not to get this baby aborted. And he told me this story. He said, just imagine this kid. The doctor said this kid is not going to live. The kid's going to live, for instance, for 1 month only or for 1 week only, right? So you have an option just to kill him in the womb or to give birth to that child. And this child will be dead, will die in the hands of the mother, right? Which he loves the most.
Yes.
And something clicked. So I was going with this idea, with everything that he said for a few weeks. And only a few weeks ago, I saw just this video, and I want to say on Twitter, on X. And this video, it's 31st of August, and it proved me what he was saying. So this is the video.
Oh.
You can see that something's wrong with the kid. And it said that this kid is not supposed to live longer than a few months.
Look at the love of that mama.
But the love that he feels from the creator, from her mom, it's way better than just to die just by taking limb by limb by limb by limb.
In pain, being ripped apart.
Yes, just ripping apart physically.
That's a really touching video. So, and I think what that illustrates, that baby doesn't belong to us. That baby belongs to God, and He gives us that baby, right? We're stewards of that baby.
Surrogates, basically.
What?
A surrogate.
Surrogate. Exactly. It's not ours to kill, right? It's, thou shalt not kill is a pretty simple commandment, right? Pretty simple. There's no way to mess that up. And God gives you this precious life. So just because it's not your idea of perfection, doesn't mean you have the right to take its life. And that mom was, oh my gosh, she was precious to watch. And I will guarantee that mother was more deeply impacted by that baby in a positive way than that baby even was by her. I mean, she loved the baby all the way to that baby's death, natural death. But I have friends who's found out their baby had trisomy 18, I think it's called. And baby only lived a few days or a week or a month. Every one of those moms and dads will tell you that that baby just impacted them at the deepest level, made them closer to God, really. You know, we're all of us are weak. All of us are,
Amen.
You know, struggling. All of us are damaged merchandise, right, in some way. We've all been through horrible things. Doesn't mean we should just be killed, right? We're supposed to be...
It's not Sparta.
Exactly. You have some good ones.
Dehumanizing. They're just saying this is not a child. It's not a
right.
kid. It's a clump of cells. It's just like they dehumanized the Jews. These are not people. These are pigs, rats.
Right. And
just kill them.
Right now they're dehumanizing white people.
Yeah.
And Christians and Jews again.
Yes.
Jews are always on the list.
Of course.
Yeah,
every single day.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's get back to the education. So unions. Tell me about the... You have an option to go to a public school. If you have enough money, you can choose private schools and you can choose homeschooling. Can you get financing for homeschooling your kid?
Okay, so I touched on this a tiny bit earlier. That's a slippery slope. To get government or taxpayer funding for homeschooling is a real slippery slope. It can lead to a lot of problems. So the answer right now in the state of California is no, you cannot get money funding from the taxpayers to fund homeschooling. In some states you can. I don't remember the list, but yeah, in some states you can. But I'm just going to tell a story about Sweden to help people to understand why it's best to homeschool on your own dime or private school on your own dime rather than taking taxpayer dollars. And I know we're all paying a ton in taxes. If I was the queen of the world, I'd lower everybody's taxes a lot and say, go educate your child on your own, right? So I realize my husband and I pay unbelievable property taxes toward these wicked, corrupt schools. So I get that. So in Sweden, many years ago, they decided to pass school choice. They used the same exact talking points as we're using here in America. School choice. You know, the money follows the child. The money follows the child into the home school or the private school or the charter school or the government public school. And they passed it and everybody was happy for about 3 years. And then the government fist came down. And they said, you, private Christian school, you're getting government money. You can't have the Bible anymore. You can't pray anymore. You can't teach about God anymore. And you have to teach DEI and you have to teach the sex ed, right? They brought the whole wicked agenda into a school the parents chose because it was safe, right?
That's Sweden. Which is socialist country and very secular country.
Why are they secular? This is why. This is exactly how they secularize their people, school choice. So they did that to the private schools, took God out, took everything, the reason those schools existed, they took it out. And now they have to follow the government line, the baloney we're seeing now.
But you have a choice.
Yeah. You have a choice from all this different wickedness, right?
But they're all wicked.
Yeah, no
but
real
you choose,
choice.
you're free.
Do you know it's now illegal to homeschool in Sweden? Illegal. They'll lock you up. Okay, so you can't homeschool your kids. So you lost that freedom. Your private school is no longer a private school. It's a government-funded, indoctrination camp. And your public schools, they're all the same. Did you know the people of Sweden now basically just walk in lockstep with whatever the government wants? The reason I know quite a bit is a friend of mine. Actually, his name's Alex Newman. He's great. You should have him on your show sometime. He's wonderful, brilliant man. His wife's from Sweden. They live here in the States. But they've watched as her country has been just dominated by tyrants, and the people are just kind of like robots now because of the school system, because of school choice. So I don't want people to think, I of course believe that every parent should educate their child the way they want. The scripture says you should educate your child in God's word. And so it is not only your right, it is your obligation from God to educate your children.
Yes.
So, and people need to start thinking that way. It's not the government's job. And when you send your kid off to the government to be educated, don't be surprised when they come home acting like Caesar, acting like tyrants, right? I know people who've sent their kids even to Catholic colleges and they come back communists. Okay? These kids who hate They hate everything about, what made their parents successful and able to send them to that school in the first place. They hate it because they've been turned into communists. So it's our job to educate our children, not the government's job. We've been sold a bill of goods. And very slowly, they brought in federal funding and all of that. And now people think, oh, well, I'm paying all these taxes. I need to go to this school. No, it's the worst thing you can do.
It's such a music to my ears, you talking about the Sweden, because I remember like 20 years ago, Sweden is such an incredible country, right? It welcomes everybody. People pay a lot of taxes, but they only tax the rich. You can get almost everything for free. It's so cool. Lagos, they have this word, so you almost have nothing, but you're so happy. And even 20 to 10 to 15 years ago, I was thinking, something's not right with this country.
Yep.
When we see Sweden right now, people, the Swedes, the women are getting raped every day.
Of course.
By illegal or legal immigrants.
Of course.
They're getting destroyed. Their welfare state is getting destroyed. And I remember like 15 years ago, Lithuanians used to go to Sweden. One of my friends, he went to Sweden, worked there in a construction company. Then he resigned and he got this... he got the money for not working for 6 months. But he got this krones, which is the currency in Sweden, lots of money. So he went and lived for 6 months in Lithuania, which the prices are 3 to 4 times lower. But every month he didn't flew in. He had to drive to Sweden to check in. Are you in Sweden?
Of course,
yes. That's why we're paying you money.
Keep tabs
I
on
am.
You.
Checks in and bye-bye. He goes to Lithuania and spends all his money.
Wow.
That's a welfare state, socialist welfare state that is getting crushed now.
Yep.
I'm so happy that there are countries like Poland, even Lithuania, that do not implement those drastic ideas right away.
Right.
Let's wait. Let's wait for
see how it works.
Yes, at least for a decade. Mm-hmm. If it works, maybe we should think of it, but not right away. We should welcome everybody. That's amazing. We should welcome everybody here in the United States. Wait a minute. So after 3 years, they're hijacking school buses.
Of course.
They're taking over Aurora hotels, not the hotels, apartments. They do the same thing in Chicago. Mm-hmm. They do something like that in New York. It's only a matter of time when they come to Los Angeles.
That's right. That's 100%. Los Angeles is already a war zone. My goodness. When will people wake up?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
So I listened to an amazing video. It's probably 40 years old now. A gentleman named Yuri Bezmenov. Have you seen it?
That's a Russian spy?
He is a former KGB agent.
Yes.
So there's this interview with him, 40-year-old interview. You can YouTube it. YouTube will probably block it soon, so rumble it or whatever. But he lays out how the communists infiltrate a nation and the steps they use. And he told us 40 years ago, look, they've made a lot of progress in America. If you start fighting right now, you might be able to stop it.
Dummy.
Well, we didn't. And so then he said that what happens is they propagandize the people so thoroughly that even when the truth is right in front of their face, okay, you lay out 2 + 2 = 4, and they won't believe the truth even right in front of their face because they're so propagandized. And guess when they believe it? When the country falls. When the country falls and the tyrants take over, then they believe it. Okay, so those people are useful idiots. They're our problem. If they're that propagandized, and I want to tell you something about these propagandized people. I know a lot of them. And they're prideful. They've been taught to be prideful so that when you try to help them understand, look, what you're believing isn't true, they start screaming and scratching and clawing at you. So these people are dangerous. They're an existential threat to our nation. We have to stop listening to them, paying attention to them. If they write something nasty to you, just ignore it. If you're on social media and somebody says something nasty, don't read it. They say so many nasty things to me, I don't read it. I just don't read it. I don't care what they think. They're lost. And I'm not going to go down and have my country destroyed because I want to make them feel better about themselves. I'd rather help save the country so they don't have to go through that misery that they're going to drag me into, right, if I keep listening to them. So it's terrifying how people can get caught up in that.
So the moment I realized USA is going nuts, it was the moment when they when they couldn't answer the question, what is a woman?
Oh my goodness.
That was like, that's it, we're done.
And this woman's on the U.S. Supreme Court? What? No, you should be the most intelligent lawyer on the planet if
Yes.
you end up in the Supreme Court, not an idiot that can't even tell what is a woman and what is a man. I'm sorry, I have no respect for her. And I took a case to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I sat in that room, and I watched those justices, and I listened to them. I was not impressed with Sonia Sotomayor either. She was doing the bidding of the unions from the bench. She was literally trying to find a workaround in the courtroom during oral arguments.
That's
It was
what they do.
unbelievable. Her job and the job of those justices is to follow the Constitution and to rule constitutionally. No, there are justices on that bench, and the left says it's the conservatives. No, it's not. There are justices on that bench that are doing the bidding of the communists in a constitutional free republic. That's just totally unacceptable.
But why don't people see this? So Kamala says unrealized gain tax. Once you unpack the unrealized gain tax, it's like, how is it possible? That's idiocracy.
Yeah.
This whole idea on tax, if your asset goes up in the price,
Right.
how is it possible?
Right.
Then
You haven't even sold it yet. You haven't
Yes.
even made the money,
Yes.
but you have to pay the taxes.
Yes.
The reason they get away with that is because the educational system's been destroyed. If we were teaching economics, macroeconomics and microeconomics in our school system, and believe me, both macro and micro could easily be understood by your average middle schooler. I didn't get it till college, and thank God I had a good teacher and I loved it. But if we just understood economics, we wouldn't fall for that crazy stuff.
Yes.
And there's one more thing. Here's what I've noticed about Americans, just human beings in general. They want the free stuff for themselves.
Of course.
Okay, and they don't realize when you take the free stuff, all you're doing is making us go further and further into the regime, the communism, socialism / communism, same thing. They always lead to the same place, misery for everybody. So I was talking to a young man recently who was given family leave. You know, had a baby. His wife had a baby. Given 6 weeks family leave, and I said. And this is a conservative, good, young Christian young man. And I said, do you realize that's a socialist system? Oh, yeah, I realize it. I said, why are you taking it? You're participating in a socialist system. Oh, well, my company works, they pay half of it. And I said, yeah, and the taxpayers pay the other half. And I said, why, if you're against socialism, why participate in it? He took the 6 weeks off.
Oh, you're going to be so surprised right now. Guess what's the term of this thing in Lithuania?
6 months, a year.
I did this thing. So my wife gave a birth to our son, and I went on a 2-year.
2 years?
2 years.
Holy cow.
And how much money do you get is right up to the birth of a child, the IRS takes the last 6 pay stubs of you getting the money from your company.
Okay.
This is what you're gonna get for a whole year, for 100% if you go for a 1 year.
Wow.
Or for 50%, but in 2-year period.
Wow.
Yes, and I loved it.
Wow.
I paid the taxes and I
Holy
got
cow.
all the money back. But I was
cow.
the employer of myself. I did it with my company.
Okay, so let me tell you what they're doing in America. The pensions. Now, I don't want to...
That's a Ponzi scheme.
It is. And I'm sure people are going to be mad at me because there's a lot of people on pensions. And I'm not putting you down if you're on a pension. I understand. You took a job that had a pension system. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yes.
You're in that system. So this is not a put down on people. It's just a try to help people awaken.
That's the reality. The truth.
Exactly. It's the truth. And so that we can help to stop this. So your average teacher out there, okay, I'm just going to tell a personal story of someone I know personally who taught 39, maybe it's 39 years. This person, I'm not even going to tell if it's male or female. This person taught 39 years in California public schools. And this person has a pension for life. Okay, this is not you're saving money in a bank account and you have to be careful with it, for your retirement. You work hard to pay off your house so that you don't have debt in your retirement. No, this is a paycheck every month for life after you retire. Because of the way the unions have negotiated the pension system, They get COLA adjustments every year, cost of living adjustments. So your pay goes up every
Yes.
year. This person who taught 39 years, who hasn't taught now for at least 15 years, hasn't been teaching for a long time, is now making more in the pension than he or she did while teaching. Making more. So for life, this person is getting payments from taxpayers more than what this person was earning while teaching. The person didn't put all that money in the bank and save it. No. That's our pension system. That's not sustainable. Nice for that person,
Yeah,
right?
sure, amazing.
Great, yeah, but it's not sustainable. Who said it? Margaret Thatcher? The problem with socialism is pretty soon you run out of other people's money. That's the problem.
Because the living ones pay their taxes to support the retired ones.
Exactly.
That's the Ponzi scheme.
Exactly. So you wonder why your taxes keep going up? Don't get mad at the retired one because, they want us to all be mad at each other. But that's what caused it. So if you're in that same system, you're going to cause the next generation to pay more taxes or go to full communism or whatever. So we just have to awaken to this stuff and get out of the system, right? As long as we stay in the system, we're part of it. So, and that's one of the reasons I resigned. I am not a retired teacher. I resigned. And when I was suing the unions, I worked part-time because I never wanted to be absent from my students to help with the lawsuit. I didn't miss one day of my class time with the students during the lawsuit because I worked part-time during that time. So I could still travel and do interviews and everything else. But that impacted me for life. I don't have the kind of retirement that I will have because of that. But that's what we all have to get, a sacrificial mentality, right? Let's say a person listening is a person of faith. Our faiths are all based on self-sacrifice, sacrificing for others. But we've listened to this scheme, this propaganda, where we're all like clamoring for ourselves. No, I need more for me. That's not how it works. If you want to be blessed, you want to be blessed as a nation, you want to bless others, you have to be sacrificial. So it's not about getting more for me, it's about doing more for others, right? This is what I love about President Trump. That man was raised by parents who told him, this world owes you nothing. You owe the world. Go out and do something. That's why he cares so much and he fights so hard. And the man doesn't need to fight like he's fighting. If they steal this election from all of us, they'll throw him in prison. I mean, I hope he's got a place to escape to. I mean, they're literally trying to destroy him and his family.
Like literally, because yesterday they said he's going to be sentenced on November 11th. Right after the election. If he loses, he goes to jail.
Of course.
100%.
A gulag.
Yeah.
It won't be some nice jail, like where they put, what was her name? Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend? She's in a fancy... I can't think
Maxine.
of it. Yeah, Maxine, whatever. No, that's close.
Yes.
Anyway, it's scary. It's scary. And I understand people's desire to want more for themselves, but we really have to start sacrificing. What did our founders say? They vowed their lives, their honor, their sacred honor, their fortune, their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. That's what we have to do. We have to vow our lives. Right?
So in regards to pensions, so Lithuania got its independence right after the USSR collapse in 1991. At that time, Lithuania, it's still a small country. Lithuania in 1991, 33 years ago, had the population of 3 million people, right?
Right.
Right now, it's 2.5 million.
Oh my,
people.
oh my.
So who's funding all the retirees?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right. They're not having babies.
Yes, and the country is collapsing. Everyone is going away from that country. Sweden, Germany, UK, Ireland, the US, they flee because of the economy.
Wow.
And the taxes are huge, just like here. So, for instance, if I want to get paid, if I get paid with W-2 and I get, let's say, 1,000 euros on my bank account, all the taxes already deducted, right? I get to spend 1,000 euros a month. So my employer pays the taxes. So my employer, for me to get 1,000 euros, he pays 1,600.
Holy cow.
Yes.
That's what's coming to America if we keep it up. That's frightening.
That's frightening. Lots of taxes. If you work as a W-2 in Lithuania, you're paying. You don't pay taxes.
Technically, you don't pay taxes.
You don't pay zero.
Yeah,
you pay zero.
That's the propaganda.
Your employer pays all the taxes.
So
and then they say, employer is so freaking greedy. I only get €1,000. Bro, chill. He pays $1,600. But you don't see the €600 because they go to the IRS.
Oh my goodness.
These are the ones to blame, not the employer, because he's greedy.
Oh my goodness. So this is exactly, the unions must be controlling there, because this is exactly what the unions do. They turn employers and employees against each other. So actually what's happening in that case is that employer is paying $2,600 a month. That's what he's paying. He or she is paying. It's just that $1,600 is taken away from the employee.
No. He's paying $1,600, but he pays $600. Yeah.
Okay.
But still a lot, percentage-wise.
It is a lot. But that employee thinks that they're getting gypped that $600.
Yes.
No, the government's gypping them that $600.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what drives me crazy too. I saw that my whole career, where teachers very naively, they just buy into the lie. Oh, it's the district. The district's bad. Look, when I was a union rep, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was, I told you it was during Obama years. Remember, the economy crashed. It was horrible. Well, we found out we were going to have to lay off a bunch of teachers. Our district was going to have to lay them off. Now, thanks to unions, you don't lay off the abuser that's hitting the kids. You don't lay off the one that isn't any good and the kids aren't learning. You have something called last in, first out. So if you're the last one hired, you're the first one fired. So we had hired all these incredible teachers. I knew they were incredible because I was working with them. One had been my student teacher. I'd recommended her, and I was working with them to help them learn how to teach children how to write. They brought up our writing scores. I mean, it was like 75%. I mean, they brought them up in a huge way. They were all going to lose their jobs because they were the last ones hired, okay, because of the economy. So as a union rep, I went to the superintendent and I said, hey, if we took a 3% pay cut, could we save these jobs? She said, absolutely. You could save
3%.
3%.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. Nothing. Not only that, we were the highest paid district in the county, in Orange County at that time. And the economy was so bad, I'd always taught in a low, it was like low, some of these kids were living in motels, so that was super low income. And then we had like lower middle class people. So we had a span. I had 42 languages on my campus. Kids were coming from everywhere. True melting pot. I loved it. The kids and their families were great. But I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? The pay cut.
Yeah.
These families were hurting so much. They're working class families. They were hurting so much because either their wages had been cut or their hours had been cut, that they were doubling up, like grandparents living with parents and kids and, just 10, 12 people in a house to survive. So I said, I thought unions stand in solidarity. We could stand in solidarity with our community. It would be great PR if we took a pay cut while they're all getting pay cuts. Why wouldn't we? It's the right thing to do and to save jobs. These are low income. Supposedly we want lower class sizes. We can keep the class sizes lower if we don't get rid of teachers. So I talked to the teachers about it. They were thrilled. They agreed with me. Yeah, let's do it. So I take it to the union meetings. And the union says, oh, no, Rebecca, we can't do that. The teachers will never go for it. I said, I've already talked to the teachers. They want to go for it. Oh, no, they'll not, blah, blah. I nagged for 6 months. Okay, I'm the middle child of 5 kids. I can nag. I can annoy, okay, because I never got any attention. Like, pay attention to me. So I finally said, look, these teachers want it. You're not listening to me. How about I'll create a survey monkey. I'll do all the work. You can have it sent to whatever email address you want. I won't control it so you don't think I'm lying or something. And we just let the teachers say yes
or no.
Or no. If it's 51% says yes, we go forward. If 51% say no, I'll never say another word. Do you know they would not let me write that survey monkey? They would not let me survey the teachers in any way. Do you want to know what the union president said to me? He said, Rebecca, the union's going to take care of those teachers. We're going to offer them a seminar on how to get unemployment benefits. Okay? The sickening thing is every last one of them lost their job, needed those unemployment benefits, but I'm sitting in the teacher's lounge, all these teachers that are losing their job, first of all, everybody was depressed. The whole district, everyone was just demoralized over this. And so these teachers said, in the teacher's lounge, oh, the district doesn't like me. I can't believe they don't appreciate me. I brought up the scores. I said, whoa. The district does appreciate you. They were willing to help let us take a 3% pay cut to save your jobs. It was your union that didn't let us save your jobs. So the unionists, they're just such liars that they get people to believe these lies, that the boss is holding out on me when he's actually paying all these taxes, right? It's just evil. It's evil. If we could make everything transparent and people could see the truth, we'd make a lot of progress.
How about we get back to meritocracy? If you get the results, you're getting paid more, or you stay at the job if you have job cuts.
Imagine that.
But DEI.
Yeah.
Don't be a racist.
But imagine merit. My husband's the president of a charter school network. I think they have 4 schools now in Orange County. Orange County, San Diego County, LA County, I think. They're spread out. They don't have a union. They will never have a union.
And they're doing great.
They're doing amazing. And they get 75 cents on the dollar of a regular public school. They get less money. They are in the black. They have plenty of money in savings. But do you know what else they do? They give bonuses to their teachers for merit. All the teachers are very happy about that.
Capitalism.
Capitalism.
You earn profit.
Exactly.
You get paid more.
Exactly. And they let everybody's happy there. You know what else they do? They say, well, teachers, we need to bring in a new principal. Is there anyone among you all would recommend be a good principal?
Meritocracy.
Yeah. Exactly. And it works, and everybody's happy, and the children are learning, and the parents aren't coming to the school board meetings screaming at everybody because they're being represented.
Yes.
Okay, why are parents screaming at school board members? Because the school board members are doing the bidding of the union communists instead of representing the community. They deserve to be screamed at. The bad ones. The good ones like Sonia Shaw do not deserve to be screamed at. God bless her. So.
That's all people need, just a career ladder. Just the opportunity to earn money and to dispose the money as you want. Pay tax, but no pension funds. I do what I want to do with my money.
Exactly.
Because I'm financially illiterate.
Yep.
But if I'm not, because of the school system, they teach me how to be who? How
dependent.
To be dependent, yeah. On welfare.
Yeah.
Or am I a girl? Am I a boy? Am I a 96th other gender? Right?
Unbelievable. And that whole transgender thing, so we never really talked about
let's talk
how
about
the
it.
unions are sexualizing the kids. So teachers don't realize this. I talk to teachers all the time. I took it on the chin for them. Okay? It wasn't easy to serve as lead plaintiff, going up to the U.S. Supreme Court, having my face, in interviews, TV interviews, or writing op-eds or whatever, having nasty people say nasty things about me that were lies. That wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Well worth it. Nobody has to pay those wicked people anymore. But I took it on the chin for these people, and millions and millions of them refuse to leave the unions. Some of them don't know, because the unions lie so much, they just don't know they've been freed. Okay, they don't know. We need to help them know. Some of them know, and they're too afraid to leave the unions. Because paying your union dues, it's like hush money, right? The mafia is not going to come after you if you pay. Okay, so they're afraid. But they need to get some courage. They need to grow a backbone. And then other ones don't leave because, I can't let go of my disability insurance that I can only buy through the union, or my liability insurance. Well, we can cover you. We have organizations that cover the liability. They can buy for cheap, for way cheaper than union dues. The disability is another thing. They got to find it on their own. But so many teachers stay in for that. Christian teachers who know better, who don't want kids sexualized, who don't want our schools to be dangerous, but they keep paying the satanic agenda because, it's some safety for me. Mm-hmm. And it breaks my heart because, number one, they're going to have to answer to God for it someday. But number two, Benjamin Franklin, we have to listen to our founders. They were great, godly men, God-fearing men, even though the left wants us to think they didn't believe in God. That's a lie. They were God-fearing men.
Slave owners.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Oh, we get into that. Oh, my goodness. There's so much more depth into what was really going on, right? So, but Benjamin Franklin said, and I'm not going to quote it perfectly, but it was something like, if you give up liberty for a little security, you deserve neither liberty nor security. And that's the problem. People are giving up so much liberty to be secure with some insurance or whatever. And it's devastating because people who continue paying the so-called teacher unions and the other government unions that are involved in the destruction of children, chopping off their breasts, okay, literal destruction, telling little boys to chop off their private parts, okay? Destroying them, then saying, oh, we do it because otherwise they'll commit suicide. No, they commit suicide because you're doing it to them. That's what's causing the suicide, is your lies and your manipulation and your destruction of these kids. So if you're a teacher and you're still funding that, you're complicit in all of that evil. All of it, because you're paying for it. So if you can't find the courage to leave, ask God for the courage. That's what God gives. In the book of Revelation, there's a list of the people that God says won't make it into heaven. Cowards at the top of the list. The cowards, top of the list. Why? Because if we're cowards, innocent ones get hurt.
And they're going to get this mark of the beast. So
Exactly.
you being a member of that, that's the mark of the beast. You're part of it.
Coward, being a coward. What a horrible mark to wear, right? So we have to stop being cowards. We have to stop being worried about security. Look, we as Americans have been spoiled, okay? What is that saying? Easy times make weak men, hard times make strong men. We need to get strong again, okay? I think God's allowed some of these hard times, so we'll stop being so doggone entitled and weak and, laying around and we need to fight. We need to fight. So it'd be so easy for teachers and other government employees, so easy. Just stop giving the devil your money. Stop. You're a Jew? Stop giving Satan your money. I had a Jew teach me that they don't say demons or devil, they say Satan. Okay, same to me it's all the same thing. Stop giving Satan your money for his agenda. So look, I already took it on the chin for you. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned that 1977 decision, and you no longer are forced to fund a government union. How about the DMV? Did you know that the DMV, that's where you register to vote? And we have all these 20 million, whatever the number is now, we have no idea the number of illegals that have just poured into our country. Look, it's not racist to say we don't want illegals. Why? We don't know if they fit in with our culture. What did our founders made sure that when people were going to come through Ellis Island to become American citizens, come work, get a visa, whatever the process was in those days, they had to promise that they would assimilate with our culture. They couldn't come in being, rapists and murderers and hating God and hating truth and hating a good education. They couldn't do that because we don't want to be destroyed. A border means you're sovereign. That's all it means. And we were a sovereign nation. We're not sovereign anymore. We have people just pouring in and crazy at the same time, deporting really great people who would make wonderful citizens. I can't figure that out. I personally know great people who were deported and couldn't get a permanent status, and they were ideal citizens, while illegals pour over the border. It's insane. So, but it's happening because too many people are putting security ahead of doing what's right. Do you see, people, whoever's listening, if you're doing that, do you see that we're getting the opposite of security? Because you won't stand up and stop funding these wicked unions and stop funding this wicked agenda and stop, funding it so you can have your insurance, your disability insurance or whatever, you are the reason that we're no longer secure because you're funding that wicked agenda. So if we could just get every government employee who cares, who's a true lover of America, lover of freedom, lover of their own children, wants their children to have a good education, whatever. I would think that's most Americans. If we could just get them to stop funding unions. There's millions and millions of people funding government unions. We could turn things around overnight.
So yesterday we had the conversation with my wife, and I was telling her, who are you, that we're getting to have a podcast. And she was like, ask her whether the agenda is all over the schools. Is the agenda in all schools, in all public schools? Is it mandatory to have an agenda? For instance, I've seen those books, perverted books when boys are getting taught how to do a blowjob to another boy.
Yep.
It's like,
yep.
Is it mandatory, or is it up to a school or to a district?
Yeah, I'm really glad your wife asked this question. The answer is complex because, of course, that wicked agenda is confusing and chaotic and complex. Mm-hmm. So let's just start with the state of California, since that's where we are. But I want people to understand, if they're listening from other states, you're not safe. There are schools in Texas where I help people and work with them because their kids are being sexualized in schools in Texas. Okay, so you're not safe if you're in Texas. You're not safe if you're in Alabama or Florida. I know teachers in Florida who have left that state because they couldn't take it anymore, especially school counselors who were being told they had to lie to parents and transgender kids and tell kids that, oh, in Florida, okay, we all think we're going to escape to Florida. It's happening there too. So let's just focus on California first. So the so-called teacher unions, by the way, I have relabeled them the education cartel. That's what they really are, because when they call themselves teacher unions, they're taking the once trusted profession of teacher and using it. It's propaganda. And so that's how they've gotten away with so much evil, because, oh, we're teachers, just like the PTA. Oh, we're parents. No, you're not. No, you're not. You might have some parents convinced and you're exploiting them, but you're not. So they're the education cartel in my mind, and I hope people will join me in that name, because we need to call a spade, right? So the education cartel, in multiple states, has passed as laws the requirement to teach this sexualized education. In fact, they're pushing this all over the world. It's coming through the United Nations. So the United Nations is not what it claims to be. They are pushing this wicked sexualized agenda through the United Nations. So I have personal friends who volunteer, part of a ministry, and they lobby at the United Nations to try to protect children and families from sexualized curricula. They have testified that in the United Nations, these small countries will come for aid. They'll come say, we need fresh water. We need education for our kids.
Then do that.
Yep. So the agenda at the United Nations, wicked United Nations, this is their wicked agenda to these precious children and their families, poor people. Okay, you so-called teacher unions, you say you're for the poor? No, you're not. You're destroying the poor, and you're making them poorer. We have to say the truth. So the United Nations, when these countries come for clean water, medical aid, whatever it is they need, the United Nations says, if you will take comprehensive sexuality education, that's what it's called, CSE, comprehensive sexuality education. If you will take this, then we will give you all those things you need. So these countries not knowing it's something bad, because the way CSE is sold, oh, it's just helping kids not to catch AIDS. Why would kids be sleeping around anyway? Shouldn't you be teaching them not to sleep around? Huh?
Teach the Bible.
Exactly.
For them not to be promiscuous.
Exactly, which is what our founders did. But these people lie and say we can't have the Bible in our schools. Yes, we can absolutely have the Bibles in our schools, and we should. If we want to save this nation, we better. So anyway, these people totally no idea what's going to happen to them. They go back to their countries with this aid. Comprehensive sexuality education is destroying their children. And they come back to the United Nations. Some of them have gotten smart. Some of these small countries, they've banded together, and they come back together and say, we don't want this anymore. And they're having a hard time getting rid of it. It's destroying them. So that's what's happening here in California, in our nation, in the United States. So the education cartel, in bed with the United Nations, in bed with the World Health Organization, and they're bringing this evil into our schools intentionally. In the state of California, the so-called teacher unions, the education cartel, helped write the bill that's called the, quote, California Healthy Youth Act. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Sounds like you're going to be feeding them good food, teaching them, to eat a proper diet and, not to eat candy all day long.
Go outside.
Yeah, go outside and play. Okay, no. What is the California Healthy Youth Act? It's the, quote, act, healthy act that was brought into our state so that these wicked people can sexualize our children. Now, the woman who, you know how an assembly person, if it's an assembly bill, someone has to carry the bill. So the person who carried it was, oh gosh, I just lost her name. She is our current Secretary of State. That's what's scary. Okay, this woman started at the lower levels, school board, city council, and the unions have pushed her all the way up. When she brought the California Healthy Youth Act, a total sexualization of our kids, and it passed. First of all, she got awards from all these wicked organizations, but then she was promoted. We didn't vote her into Secretary of State. She was promoted there, okay? You wonder why we have election fraud issues in California? Yeah, we have election fraud issues in California. I'm a fourth-generation Californian. I remember when I turned 18, the first time I voted, I walked into my neighbor's garage. I found my address and my name on a sheet. I had to show my driver's license. I signed my name. I went in and voted on paper. They took my paper. That was voting.
So racist.
Yeah, so racist. Who did we end up getting with that system? Ronald Reagan as our governor. Pete Wilson as our governor. Good people. Now we have these crazy lunatics running our state who do not represent us at all, because now we go and you don't have to show an ID. I show mine every time, and they say, I don't need that. I say, you better look at my ID. But who cares? Nobody else, hardly anybody else is doing it, right? And I go vote in this machine, and I have no idea if my vote counts. It goes through a scanner. It doesn't show me. It doesn't give me a receipt of how I voted. It just says a smiley face. You voted.
Trust me.
Yeah, trust me. And I don't. I don't trust. So this is what, Shirley Nash Weber, that's her name. Shirley Nash Weber. She's our current Secretary of State. She brought this wicked sexualization to our kids. So what happened? I've read this bill multiple times. It's a law now. I've read it carefully. What this law did was it required comprehensive sexuality education in any school funded by taxpayer dollars. Okay? Again, a reason you don't want school choice funding private schools and homeschools. So every school has to teach it if it's funded by the government or taxpayers. Government has zero money. It's our money, taxpayer money. Okay. What do they have to teach? Well, comprehensive sexuality education. What does that mean? Well, you have to look at their curricula. So they approved 6 different curricula at the time. I don't know how many there are now. I've read them. I'll just share one. It was written by Planned Parenthood. It's called.
You can stop right here.
Yeah, stop right there. It's called Making Proud Choices. Okay, what's comprehensive sexuality education? It's sexualizing your children. The first lesson I ever saw, this was sent to me by a mother in 2012. She sent me an email. I'll never forget. The title of the email was The Latest Horror. 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 The latest horror. Her daughter was in 5th grade. No parent letter. No, the mother found the parent letter. The parent letter is always buried with a bunch. This is a mom that read everything, right? They make it so hard for parents to opt out of this stuff. It should be an opt-in. No, it shouldn't be in our schools at all. This daughter, in her class, they were exposed to something called the condom relay races. Condom relay races. Totally described in this curricula. I've read it multiple times. I wrote about it. I have 3 chapters in my book about the sex education. What's the condom relay races? They tell teachers, no real teacher would do this, but the unions have placed a lot of activists into our schools that pretend to be teachers. They'll do it every day. So they tell teachers, you need to gather the children, boys and girls together, because you're not allowed to assume anybody's gender anymore. So the boys and girls have to be mixed together. And you're going to put out a table. On the table, you're going to place 2 anatomically correct, fully erect adult male penis models. Try that on. I mean, just think about that for a minute.
5th grade.
5th grade. And by the way, this can happen.
11 years old.
Yeah, 10, 11. Yeah. And by the way, any activist teacher could do this at any age. Okay. Comprehensive sexuality education is required once in middle school, once in high school. Now, if a teacher finds a way to get around all this crazy stuff, they're obviously a good teacher's not going to teach the condom relay races. And by the way, the kids, they do a relay race now. What do? 2 teams, they have to put the condom on the dildo, and they have to tell all the steps. If they don't get the steps right, they have to repeat it. This is to break down the natural boundaries that God put in children to protect them from predators. That's what this is. This is predatorial. These are groomers. So these kids now, being sexualized in 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever grade they end up with this, and the first team that wins, is the winner. And literally I read this myself. Literally the curriculum says, make it a fun game. Make it a fun game. Has that ever fun? If I had to do that in 5th grade, I never would have gotten married. That's their goal. They want everybody to be lesbian, transgender, whatever. They don't want families to grow.
Or promiscuous.
Totally. Why? Because our founders said the only way to keep a free republic, well-educated, moral, self-governed. They want them to be immoral. Exactly. This is not freedom and the new way to think. It's immoral, and we have to call it what it is. Okay, so these kind of lessons that are all over. I mean, I could tell you example after example. If people want to read about it, like I said, I have 3 chapters.
Give me one more example. So if people would...
Let's see, one more example. Gosh, my brain just went blank. Okay, there's and I literally, I have a teacher in my book who literally describes this. We also made a little movie. My book's called Standing Up to Goliath. Our movie was Whose Children Are They? And she actually shares this in the movie too. I think she shares it in the movie. Definitely in the book. Anyway, this teacher was told, this is a teacher in South Orange County, California. Okay, super conservative. Yeah. Okay, and she's told, suddenly they're all having she's a health teacher, middle school. Suddenly they're all told they have to have this mandatory training. And nobody even knows this has been passed in the district. I mean, if you read my book, you discover that how they snuck it into the district. There was never a committee on it, nothing, all breaking all the rules. And so all of a sudden she's in this training with all the other science teachers, health teachers, and they're told that the lesson they have to teach is they need to bring one child up. Okay, isolation. They use isolation a lot to terrorize people. Bring one child up. Think about a cute little girl in pigtails, 12 years old, comes up in front of the classroom, and then all the other kids are sitting in front of her looking at her, and the teacher's supposed to hold cards over her head, little index cards with words on it. Words like masturbation, okay? And now all the kids are supposed to scream out, clues about what's that word. Oh, playing with yourself, or, whatever. So the little girl, turning red as a beet, I'm sure, is supposed to guess masturbation or blowjob.
Literally.
Blowjob. Literally. So this teacher, during this training, 10 minutes into the training, because they showed the condom relay races in the training too, goes, she raised her hand. Where's the parent letter? Where's the parent letter? Oh, well, there is none. So here's what we find out. The parent letter makes it seem like it's the kind of sex ed you and I got when we were kids. You're going to learn about how your body works and, puberty. Okay, that's what it makes it sound like. So parents think, that's fine, right? So they don't opt out of it. And they bury the letter down at the bottom of a stack, first day of school. So a lot of parents don't see it. I'm rare, I read every word. But most parents don't. They're busy. So most children are subjected to this. And by the way, my niece, Sarah, blessed Sarah, her mom, my sister-in-law, because she was aware of all this because I fight it, she went in to their school district. This was in Carlsbad, California. Really nice, conservative place. They've escaped to another state now. But and they find the same nonsense there. But she went into the district and said, I want to read your curricula, your sex ed curricula. They treated her like a pariah. They would not let her take it home. It's like 500 pages.
Oh,
they would
wow.
not let her take it home. They would not let her go into the library and be private. They said, no, you have to sit here in the school office and read it.
That's tyranny.
It is tyranny. And this is a woman who works full time. She had to take time off of work to do this. She'd much rather read it on the weekend. So she has to sit while people are walking past her. She goes, I know they made me sit there so I'd be embarrassed. Because everything I'm reading, is making her blood pressure go up, making her turn red as a beet. They claim that they teach the kids about puberty, adoption, things we wouldn't complain about. She said, I couldn't find anything on any of that. She said, I scanned hundreds of pages. She said she couldn't believe the disgusting lessons, all pushing lesbianism, pushing transgenderism, pushing, free sex, literally there's a game, okay, in the one I mentioned before by Planned Parenthood, Making Proud Choices. There was a game in there called Tell It to Tanisha. Okay, and it was Tanisha had, she had a tude, right? Ugh. So you get this tude chick, Tanisha, and you're telling her stuff and asking her questions. In that game, Tell It to Tanisha, they'd have things like, well, a 10-year-old girl had sex with a boy, but she didn't like it, so now she's going to have sex with a girl. And so she goes to Tanisha and says, well, I'm worried about getting a sexually transmitted disease, blah, blah, blah. So she's asking Tanisha advice. Okay, and the advice always is don't tell your parents, or maybe they'll say, talk to your partner about it. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. People don't understand. This is the agenda that's in our schools. Now, to answer your wife's question, is it in every school? So what these wicked, satanic people that I call the education cartel, the so-called teacher unions who exploit teachers for this wicked agenda, so they can get their hands on innocent, vulnerable kids. What they did when they wrote the law, they wrote into it, very clever, if teachers are not qualified to teach this, then bring in the experts. Now, that's not quote, but that's basically the message.
Experts.
The experts. Yeah, the experts. Who's the experts? Planned Parenthood and groups like them. Parents don't know this, neither do teachers. But school districts all over this nation have contracts with Planned Parenthood because they knew teachers, real teachers, would never sexualize children. Never. Okay, that teacher I told you about who had that training, all the teachers in there were terrified. One guy goes, because they said, you have to teach this during the month of May or whatever. He said, I'm taking the whole month off. Okay, you're going to be protected, but what about the kids? Okay, no, not safety, buddy. Fight for the kids, right? So, because they knew teachers wouldn't teach this because they're exploiting teachers.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood comes in. Do you know, I personally know many teachers, this is why they have PTSD. They are asked to leave their classroom several days at a time while Planned Parenthood comes in to sexualize the kids. Right here right now we're in LA, right? I live in Orange County. In Orange County, California, I could bring a teacher to you right now who could tell you, I don't know if she'd go on camera, but who could tell you, she's a science teacher, my students are constantly sexualized by Planned Parenthood coming in and I get kicked out. She's not allowed to tell the parents. The parents didn't see the letter. The letter didn't say it was Planned Parenthood or that they were going to get sexualized, so the parents didn't know. I started to mention about my sister-in-law. She looked at the curriculum. It was so disgusting. So she searched for the parent letter, and she signed it and opted my niece out. So guess what our wicked school system did to my niece? Okay? Shame on the school employees that harass people, who harass children and harass parents for doing what's right. They're also propagandized. They believe the agenda, right? So she opts my niece out. My niece is sent to the library every day to just sit there and be bored, read a book or whatever. And then she's mocked all day, every day, because she's the only kid in school who wasn't in that sex class. What's wrong with you? How come you weren't in there? You're a this, you're a that. Because they're teaching the kids to be bullies. They're teaching them to be sexualized. Now she's square. Something wrong with her. She's the only one that was protected from it. Why did her mom wake up to this? Not only because I was fighting against it, because her daughter came home with a worksheet one day that had words like masturbation on it. And her mom's like, what the heck is going on here? So to answer your wife's question, this is going on in... We don't know which districts it's happening in. It's happening in any district where there's an activist teacher leading the classroom and the union protects them. These teachers never get fired. Never. I mean, if you were out in a park and you did this to a kid, you'd be arrested. Right?
Right.
But you can do it in a classroom and the union defends you. You get away with it every time. You speak against it, they chase you out of your job. Okay? So teachers are too scared. They got to quit being scared. Look, when only one teacher speaks up, like me, or like my friend Aaron Benner, the black teacher in Minnesota, when only one speaks up, the evil wins. But if we all stand up together and say, you are not molesting our kids in our schools anymore. You are not lying to me anymore. You may not be here. Get out. You're not welcome, cartel, education cartel. You're not welcome, Planned Parenthood. We have to take back our authority.
Because we are your employers.
Exactly.
We employ you.
We're your employers.
You have to serve us.
Exactly.
And we don't like your services. Get out.
Exactly. So do you know what I think most Americans don't realize? Because we don't teach the Constitution anymore in our schools. By the way, I have friends that have gone to law school at fancy, Ivy League colleges. And they've told me, never once did I have to read the Constitution in law school. No wonder we have so many crooked lawyers out there who are breaking the Constitution. No wonder. That Judge Cannon in Florida is amazing. She's read the Constitution. She's the one that freed us all from the stupid masks on the airplanes. And she's just done a lot of good. But here's what I think most Americans don't know and desperately need to know. America is a constitutional free republic. Everything is based upon the Constitution, which was built upon the Holy Bible. And in America, we the people are the king. We don't have a king in America. We have a president that we elect. You're the king. I'm the king. The parents of the kids being molested in the schools, they're the king. We're all the king. Why are we letting rogue school boards bully us and harm our kids? Why are we letting the government force our kids into these huge indoctrination camps instead of homeschooling or having a small little one-room schoolhouse? Why is it so hard for us to get done what we want? Because everything's been flipped on its head. We've allowed communists and tyrants and fascists to literally destroy our power, our authority. We just need to say stop. By some amazing grace of God, we still have the Constitution. They haven't torn it down. A lot of them aren't following it, but it's still there. Like I said earlier, we're so close to going over the cliff. If we can right now stand firm and say we will not accept anyone in any kind of leadership who doesn't follow the Constitution, you are gone. If we would do that, we could restore everything. Just follow our Constitution. That's all we have to do. Gavin Newsom should not be in office. He breaks the Constitution all the time. So does Nancy Pelosi. So does Shifty Schiff, whatever his name is. Adam Schiff. These are bad people. And you know what? If they're not truly evil in their hearts, I don't know. That's between them and God. Maybe they're not evil in their hearts, but they are doing the bidding of evil. They're at least useful idiots for the evil agenda. So we have to stop them. There's too much at stake. We have to find our courage. We got to grow that testosterone number.
And you put a stop on this on November 5th. November 6th, in reality, on November 6th, we wake up.
We better.
And we realize in what country do we live in right now.
That's right.
Whether it's communist country or that's America.
That's right. I saw a meme yesterday, and it was a picture of a flag, and this flag needs to be made. It said Trump or communism. That is the bottom line. That was the best messaging I've ever seen, because it's just simple. This is your choice, Trump or communism. Look, I get really frustrated with some women who, I love them. Women are a beautiful creation of God. But a lot of women don't like Trump because of his tweets or because he's arrogant or whatever. Please, women, we vote for policy. We don't vote for personality. Please. People worked hard to give you the right to vote. Don't be so foolish as to, he doesn't win the personality contest. You know what? I'll tell him something. We need a fighter in the ring. We need a man who throws punches. We need a man who sees through the evil and doesn't let evil get away with evil. That's President Donald Trump. That's a brave man. I think he's anointed. I mean, who else could put up with what they've done to him unless he's got God protecting him somehow? And, the guy dodged a bullet to the brain. I mean, it's obvious that God, and we have to be aware, God's always used weak people. All of us are weak. Moses had a stutter. He didn't want to speak out, but God chose him, right? And so that's how it is. If God chose you, that's because you're weak too. So don't get up on your high horse. Well, I can't vote for Trump because he's this. What are you better than him? What, you don't go to the bathroom too? You don't have to wash your hair? Quit being such snobs. And I'm sure I'm offending some people, but I'm not meaning to. I'm just trying to speak plainly that this is a man who's done everything. He's giving up everything for your freedom because he understands it. Maybe you don't understand what we're going through right now, but we need a fighter in the ring. We need a man who's going to show up, and he's the one, and we need to get behind him. We need to get behind him in huge number. And we need to stand up. We need to, wake up a little bit earlier every day and turn off the TV and get out and help with election integrity or help your local candidate. Go door to door, pass out flyers, pray. Get on your knees and pray. Give up a couple meals and fast and pray. We're in desperate straits. It's not time for all this whining and complaining that you don't like the candidate or you think he has orange hair. Who cares? Who cares? The man stepped up, and I thank God for him.
Just take a look at the track record. You had Trump for 4 years. Now you have Biden-Harris administration for 4 years. Which one do you like?
Exactly.
What life would you want to be for the next 4 years?
Exactly.
That's how you choose.
Simple.
Because in 2020, you had no idea what Biden is like, though the guy was for 30 years in the U.S. government, right?
Making money off our backs.
He was very noble.
Yeah.
So they kind of had no idea what Biden is going to be like. Now you know.
Yeah.
You know what Biden-Harris administration is like for 4 years and Trump for 4 years. Choose.
It's very simple. Very simple.
Rebecca, almost 3 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I asked you like 3 questions. I have so many questions, but the last question on my podcast is always the same. Let's have 2 assumptions with you. Assumption number 1 is the President of the United States, the position of the President of the US is the most powerful in the whole world. The President of the United States is the most powerful human being on planet Earth. Assumption number 2 is you become one. You become the President of the US. The moment you do so, you have the Secret Service at your disposal. They love you, they like you, they respect you, they are on your side. They come to you and say, Mrs. President, we love you. We as the Secret Service know all the answers in the world. You ask us, we give you all the answers. What do you need? We'll tell you the truth. What would be your first question?
Oh, wow.
I know you've got dozens of them.
I thought you were going to ask me what I would do to fix things, not what would be my first question of the Secret Service.
Just to know the truth.
A million questions. Yeah, like who killed JFK? And, I would want to know, what really happened to the Soviets. And,
Give me one question. The first one.
Gosh, what would be my question of the Secret Service? Maybe it would be, how did America get infiltrated by evil and how do we stop it?
Let's say they give you the list of names that did that to America, and they're all inside the U.S. Mm-hmm. The enemy is within.
Of course they are.
Would you, as a president of the U.S., would you expose it to the public? Would you say these are the enemy?
Yes, 100%.
You're not afraid of the chaos? You think people can handle the truth?
Oh, yes, they must have the truth. Yeah. Oh, there might be chaos. That's okay. What's wrong with chaos? I mean, chaos is bad, but if people are going to react, you still have to tell the truth, right? You don't lie. That's a problem we have. Too much lying. Yeah, all the truth. The people need to know the truth.
So when are you running for office? At least here locally.
Gosh, here's what's interesting. I'm just going to be really honest. Again, I'm not going to make friends over this. A lot of the people with power in this state and money in this state who get behind candidates don't like people like me.
Mm-hmm.
They want rhinos. They want people they can control. And I don't have money. Well, I told you, I resigned I don't have a paycheck. I run a nonprofit. I don't take a salary from our nonprofit. My husband and I both volunteer. We consider it a ministry. It's our way of giving back to try to help save the country that's given us such a great life. And so I don't have the money, but I would absolutely serve my country in that way if somebody got behind me and helped me with fundraising and all of that. I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat.
Rebecca, God bless you. May God, Jesus Christ, bless you, all your family, all your kids and grandkids, right?
One
grandkid and all the future grandkids. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you too. It's been a pleasure.